Please, the Lord Mayor. City of Adelaide Council meeting on Tuesday, 14 April 2026. The Lord Mayor is in the chair. This council meeting will be streamed live and recorded for publishing to the internet. Please note that an audio and visual recording is being taken of this meeting. This means that your presence at and any contribution you make to the meeting may be collected, used, disclosed or published publicly by the Council, including transferring outside Australia.
Good evening. Council acknowledges that we're meeting on the traditional country of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains and pays respects to elders past and present. We recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationship with the land, and we acknowledge that they're of continuing importance to the Kaurna people living today. We also extend that respect to other Aboriginal language groups and other First Nations people who may be with us this evening. The Council acknowledges the vision of Colonel William Light in determining the site for Adelaide and the design of the city with its 6 squares and surrounding belt of continuous parklands, which is recognised on the National Heritage List as one of the greatest examples of Australia's planning heritage. We pray for wisdom, courage, empathy, understanding and guidance in the decisions that we make, while seeking and respecting the opinions of others. May we in this meeting speak honestly, listen attentively, think clearly and decide wisely for the good governance of the City of Adelaide and the well-being of those we serve. I now ask all those present to stand in silence in memory of those who gave their lives in defence of their country, at sea, on land and in the air. Thank you, members. Please be seated. Item 6 is our apologies and leave of absence. We have none this evening. Could I ask if someone would move the confirmation minutes? Councillor Martin, seconded by Deputy Lord Mayor. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Are there any conflicts of interest? Councillor Freeman.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to declare a material conflict of interest with item 17.2 due to it directly relating to DIT and their operations, which is where I am employed. And secondly, I'd like to declare a general conflict with 17.4 for a similar reason. It relates to operations of DIT. Where I'm employed, so I intend to leave the room for 17.2 but participate in the debate for 17.4.
Yes, Lord Mayor, I will have a general conflict of interest in respect of item 13, recommendation 2. I have a relative who works in the homeless sector. The matter is about the homeless sector. I intend to declare that general conflict but remain in the room and participate fully.
While we're mentioning conflicts, there is a matter of 17.4. I'm on the board of that organisation, but it's not to allocate funds, I understand, so it's a general conflict of interest. Move on. Now, we have several deputations this evening, and a petition that reflects on one of those items. So if we could ask, I think Mr. Renton is going to speak first. Mr. Renton? Thank you. Or Mrs. Renton, both. I wonder if you could come forward to the lectern and please address the council chamber. You have 5 minutes, and at the end of that, if you go over time, we might consider a little extra. Thank you.
Good evening, Lord Mayor and councillors. Thank you for the invitation to address the council about the petition concerning St Anne's event on their tennis court on Saturday night, the 14th of March.
St Anne's is a privately owned, not-for-profit residential college. It does not receive funds from government, church or universities.
The tennis court lies within the grounds of St Anne's. To provide some orientation, in relation to our privately owned property, the tennis court is across the road and directly opposite our home at 303 Melbourne Street.
We received notification via a courtesy note after 7 p.m. on Friday the 13th of March 26. It informed us that St Anne's would be hosting its annual open show the next day, Saturday the 14th of March, between 8 and 12 p.m, with sound checks throughout the day. The notice assured us that the event had been approved by the City of Adelaide and that the police had been notified as part of the planning process.
This information proved to be untrue, a late notice, bald lie. We were advised to ring James Delaney, the head convener, with any concerns and questions. After piercing sound checks during the day, I rang James and asked him to reduce the sound levels and have some respect for the neighbours. His response was that St Anne's has sound technicians, experts, handling the sound levels. It was not possible to intervene. No further discussion needed. Goodbye.
Late afternoon, Saturday the 14th of March, we contacted Councillor Martin, who not only answered our call, but was very surprised to hear of the event. He did not believe that any such permissions had been granted. Of course, it was too late to check at council or intervene.
We contacted the police at 9 p.m. and were given a police report number. The police denied any knowledge of the event and were too busy to attend. We were very glad that we did not have family members, our grandchildren or friends with us for the evening.
Family members, including our grandchildren, are here today. They are our future, and we in no way wish them to learn to emulate the way St Anne's treat neighbours, and nor do we wish their enjoyment of time with us to be prevented by such events.
As predicted, with experience of previous events held by St Anne's, we were subjected to unrelenting invasion of our privacy and inability to conduct our chosen activities.
We hoped our rattling heritage glass windows would withstand the bombing, frightening. Could someone be trying to break in? We could not relax, hear the TV or even talk to one another without raising our voices. The shrieks, squeals, microphone feedback in between the mind-shattering noise posing as music persisted for the entire evening.
As you can probably see, I require hearing aids. The booming low-level doof-doof and high squealing sounds particularly irritate and make my tinnitus worse. Tinnitus is the very annoying, intense ringing, hissing sound in my ears. Luckily, it doesn't make me grumpy.
We recorded sound levels in our driveway over 100 decibels at 7 p.m, 8, 9 and gave up at 10:30. High noise levels such as those pummelled at the students, teenagers requiring supervision for their studies can impede hearing forever at levels of 103 decibels for periods greater than 8 minutes. Clearly, in our opinion, St Anne's has no care for their occupational health and safety responsibilities.
And so what can be done to reduce the intrusion of noise?
The Australian Government website recommends wearing ear protection, aka earplugs.
Reality is, with earplugs, we cannot talk to one another. Luckily, I'm not a grumpy person. We can't hear the television. Sleeping with earplugs negates the purpose of fire alarms designed for our safety. These are all unsatisfactory remedies in a residential area with noise from a residential premise.
And so, how does St Anne's appear to fit within the community in this built-up residential precinct?
A law unto themselves seems to be the best description, considering their arrogant, fictitious representation of the facts on the 14th of March, including imposing their style of thumping music and immature party behaviour, requiring security guards onto all of their neighbours.
The importance of sleep for every person of every age is well documented, including for shift workers, irrespective of the time and day, night or day, mothers of young babies, children, grandchildren, and the elderly. Doctors and nurses who need sleep for critical functions, as do business owners like ourselves. Someone in the area might have a headache, a brain tumour, or be dying at home.
Sorry.
Extension for an extra 2 minutes. Moved by Deputy Lord Mayor. Everyone in favour? Those against? Thank you. Now, an extra 2 minutes.
If sleep needs can be discounted, the implication is that we, the signatories on this petition, are unworthy of respect. We ask Council to remember that St Anne's is a privately owned property.
It is not an entertainment venue any more than multitudinous other residential properties and apartments in the neighbourhood. For the future,
we ask Council to consider if St Anne's be allowed to teach their charges to completely disrespect the local community now and potentially forever.
Should St Anne's be allowed to pull a trump card and never mind their neighbours?
Could the college relocate events or upgrade their facilities to include a soundproof, purpose-built venue?
Does St Anne's behaviour literally pass the pub test? The Lion Hotel has significant limitations on noise that they can emit, and patrons must leave the hotel quietly.
St Anne's appears to fall well short of any legal threshold for a nuisance complaint from a residential property.
In the words of a saint, we are here tonight
because we believe people should never see a deed and do nothing to help. We are here on behalf of the signatories on our petition to seek the help of Council to prevent recurrence of excessively noisy outdoor events run by a college governed for many years by principals without principles.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I think I will just get the next deputation and then we'll bring forward the discussion on this item so that you can, well, so that you don't have to stay here all evening. So would you like to go back to the gallery, please?
Thank you.
You can if you want to. Excuse me, Mr. Renton.
Sorry.
We just have a question from Councillor Davis.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask a question.
Are you happy to answer questions?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Depends what it is, I guess. You said that you measured the noise at 100 decibels. How did you measure that?
I've got an app on my phone that was given to me by an ear, nose and throat friend of mine who said this is the best way to measure the sound.
Great, thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Renton. Thank you. Could I ask then if Ms. Burima could come forward? I was quite excited. I didn't realise the dog park was called Bragg Park. I've learned something. Thank you. Again, would you like to address this for 5 minutes and then, if required, an extra extension? Thank you.
Well, good evening. Thank you for inviting me here today. Since February 24, 1924, I have been emailing and discussing with a council representative regarding disabled access to the to Bragg Park. There's a lot of people that do come there with various disabilities, whether they are older, or there is one in particular who I will highlight a bit today, Dan Acton, who actually has a condition called hereditary spastic paraplegia and ataxia. He's a 37-year-old man who comes to the park 6 days a week, and it is his outing for the day. Since then, we have had, first of all, we had Nellie Belpiro come from the council to come and talk to a group of people, which includes elderly people. There's Eunice, who's 83, who comes. We have a range of people there to talk about the main things being disabled parking, because there is no disabled parking there. Actually concreting the access to get into the park and around the park. At the moment, particularly this time of the year, it's mud puddles that you've got to navigate your way through. Lighting that was brought up, because that's right on the other side of the park, so you have to get there. And toiletries as well. Toilets, sorry, it's my nervousness. So someone came out and took it on board, quite surprised. In May the 23rd, the pathway, we were told it wasn't possible in the 24-25 budget, but it would be in the 25-26 budget for consideration. Instead, the pathway was covered with dirt and rocks. Sometimes the rocks were like this big, which is rather difficult even for any of us to walk over. The dogs don't like it, and forget it if you're in a walking frame or a wheelchair. I actually took a rake one time to rake up all the rocks so that people could actually access their way in there. The first lot of rainfall, the puddles were there, and it's actually, particularly when you open the gate and go in, there's a big puddle. So for someone like Dan, who is very challenged with his walking, that was very difficult. June the 21st, 2024, maintenance team were going to revisit it, and then July the 26th, I was told there'll be an update, which there has been no update since then. Basically, it's getting worse. There was another gentleman who has now passed away. He got his dog, particularly because his dog wasn't scared of his wheelchair, and it was to go to the dog park. He couldn't enter the dog park because no one could push his wheelchair over the terrain to get in there. Now, quite frankly, I just cannot believe that in this day and age that this is actually an issue that I'm talking about. It's disabled access, which is about access and equity for everyone. You know, it is the Discrimination Act. It is discriminating against people that are less able-bodied, and it just continues on. So my big thing is, can we please look at this? Can we get a budget and let it be made into a proper access for everybody, not just young able-bodied people? And then I'll just add one other little thing is there's a small dog park, there's the all dog park. Some people don't think that those rules apply to them. And in fact, I was told this week to F off by a charming gentleman who brought his greyhound into a small dog park. Can we make the signage clearer and maybe even a size, because the 14 kilo, but people become very, very aggressive at times. And I mean, I just say, well, to me, if you're going 1 to 10 in like 0 seconds, there's obviously something happening in your head. And when you've got to start using expletives like that, and that does happen quite regularly. So that's another issue. But the main one is, please, can we look at getting disabled access into the park? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to now move the order of the meeting forward so that I know someone has a motion and we'll deal with that, but after Mr. Renton's issue. So if you'd like to rejoin the gallery, please.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. So I would just like someone to move the acceptance of the petition 10.1, moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Snape. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Now, with your indulgence, I'll move 17.1 to the next item with asking Councillor Kouros to move her motion. Then I'll take a motion without notice from Councillor Martin, and then we'll go back to the agenda. So is everyone happy with that? I'm sorry? Could you just show of hands? Thank you very much. Thank you for your indulgence on that. Councillor Kouros, your issue is on the agenda 17.1. Have you got a seconder? Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Kouros.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you for articulating beautifully what is wrong with the dog park there, and that really needs some urgent attention. I am an able-bodied person. I have a dog. I've always had dogs, and I take my dog off leash where I'm allowed to on the parklands. But it's very difficult for people who are unable to do that, and I see them constantly struggling when I do go to the dog park in North Adelaide, where I live. To access the dog park, the accessibility within the dog park is very difficult for them. It's been an ongoing problem. Toilets is another issue there. I know that we do have public toilets not too far, but the problem is that the accessibility to these toilets is very difficult for people that are aren't able to move efficiently. So I really think it's something that we really need to consider. I do know, Lord Mayor, that there is an amendment or an alternate motion. I don't know which way Councillor Giles wants to go with it, but I'm happy to bring that forward to help support moving on with this one. So does she want to bring that forward now? Before we
just
go
like to
into
know if your seconder
debate?
wants to speak. Thank you. First.
I'm very supportive of this, and I'm actually supportive of the amendment as well, because Councillor Giles sent that through earlier. This was actually a business leader in South Australia. They approached me on this originally. I sent it off to the North Adelaide councillors, and Councillor Kouros, I really commend you for taking it up and turning it into this really, really good motion. I actually went out there myself to have a look after, and since then it's popped up a couple of times. So I'm really supportive of this, and I am supportive of the actual amendment that Councillor Giles has put forward, because she's focusing on disability issues. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but...
Thank you, Councillor Giles. I'm not prepared to accept the amendment because it's a funding one. The original motion said undertake an investigation and report back. The amendment that's been put forward says make the necessary changes. So that has a budgetary implication that wasn't in Councillor Kouros's motion. So
Can I just ask a question? Is it not possible for councillors to move motions that refer to where the money may be found? The last part of my amendment talks about...
Well, if I could just clarify that, the motion I have before me says we have to construct these things and then look for the money afterwards. I don't think that's quite how we do it.
What the motion says that we should find the budget within the...
With due respect, Councillor Giles, it says request the administration to make the necessary changes to the dog park to address these issues. And allocating car parks is fine, there's no real cost with that. But constructing a sealed path, a perimeter park suitable for wheelchairs and walkers, provision of additional seating and prominent signage. So I think that has a cost that is not in the original motion that was put on notice. Just a moment. Sorry?
She's trying to enter. She can't. Sorry.
I'm sorry, we don't usually get you back into the chamber. Sorry, I'm not going to get the man with the big silver thing to wave it at you.
It's just that this has gone, I was told that this had gone to the 24-25 budget and nothing happened. And we're here again discussing the same issues. So I actually find that pretty insulting that anybody...
Thank you. I'm not responsible for previous councils, I'm sorry. I just did this matter with Councillor Giles at the moment. If you want to move an amendment, your amendment changes the works being performed.
Lord Mayor, may I raise a...
Is this a point of order?
Well, kind of.
Can I just speak to Councillor Giles? Would you like to sit down, please?
Well, I think it might assist... Why don't we include that section of 3 into options to be considered?
I'm sorry, Councillor. I'm just trying to help the other councillor. The amendments change the workings that need to be done. So one of them is about drainage and surface conditions, which doesn't appear in the new motion. So I think it's sufficiently different that it would require either...
Lord Mayor, may I suggest perhaps that we... Technically, yes, but perhaps we break for 10 minutes to allow Councillor Giles to discuss with the administration.
No, I don't think we can do that. The reason I think we can't do that is we have an important matter that we're going to be in quorate for later in the meeting. So I'm just suggesting that if Councillor Giles would just incorporate, undertake an investigation, it would be legal and it would not be a contravention of our standing orders.
Okay, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you. So we're now removing, can we have it back? We're removing the part 3 that was Councillor Kouros. Part 5 is a new priority which prioritises the small dogs over the large dogs. And we're amending the route of 3 to match Councillor Kouros's.
Sorry, is this a variation, Lord Mayor, or an amendment?
I think it's a vast amendment, and the question is it too vast? Can I have some advice, please?
It's not that fast.
Through the presiding member, it is a not insignificant amendment. It's a matter for the chamber, but the change is mitigated by the revision to clause 3.
And can we get the spelling of Medindi correct, please?
If the money is in there, that's fine. If the money is in level 4, that's all right.
So,
Just the top of 3.
Yes. Yes.
It said to do
And
it.
report back
So
to
that says
council.
request
and report back to council, then we will have it tidy. And then it will come back with some costings and priorities again. I think there's also, there's no real change to part 1, is there?
Yes, there is.
Okay, all right. I will, with some reservations, accept it. Councillor Giles. We need a seconder, Councillor Snape.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I have amended the motion not to oppose what Councillor Couros has done. I think that we both agree that this is a frustrating issue for the residents of North Adelaide and the other users of this dog park. We've got a beautiful dog park. It's something that people think is one of the biggest ones in the city, but it's not adequate because there's a whole community of people that just can't access it. The deputation outlined clearly the issues, and I think that the reason I amended was to make it really clear that the priority for addressing the issues needs to be around people who have disabilities and older residents. And the people who use the dog park are very clear about what they need. They've talked to the council, they've got commitments from council over years. They've been told it's in the budget, and I'm sure that Councillor Couros has been talking with them for many years as well. I went and had a look and talked to people as well. It's a really good and diverse community park with people that know each other and regularly attend that park. But as we heard, there are people with disabilities, there are older people, older residents particularly with walking frames, who cannot on their own get from their car to the park easily, and then from the park to be able to be with their dog in the park. Because there's no firm ground for them to use mobility assistance. So this amendment actually focuses on the things that need to be done that have been identified by the people that use the park, which is about let's get some disability car parks on Medindi Road. There are no disability car parks on that road, and that's the only access to that part of the park. There is no concealed path from the roadway to the small dog park. There's nothing, once you're in the park, there's nowhere you can really go if you can't climb over gravel, because there's no sealed paths around inside the park. And also there's there's very inadequate seating for the people that use it. And also the issue of the signage is the issue as well. So they didn't say, let's have a big look at this and let's come back with a really complicated proposal. They're quite clear about what they need, and it won't cost a lot of money. When I met with the administration, I was told that it was difficult because the money wasn't allocated because it wasn't classified as an upgrade, and it wasn't classified as maintenance. So therefore, the money that would be available to this has gone into the upgrade of high streets. Now, look, does that mean that every place that we have currently in our city, if we wanted to make them more accessible, improve them slightly, that nobody will be able to access funds to be able to do those things? So I was told it was around a maximum of about $500,000 for, can I just have 2 more minutes? I was told it was about a maximum of $500,000 to do both dog parks. So that's what I've said in this amendment, is that we focus on the small dog park first and get something done, and that we get it, and we actually get some commitments about where that money could come from, either within the fourth quarter of this budget or as part of the 2026-27 annual budget plan and budget. So if we don't support some very concrete action, I'm really worried that this is going to drift off for another couple of years or 3 years. And one of the saddest stories I think that I heard when speaking to people in that park is the story of the husband of a woman who's passed away, who got a dog because it would help him in that terrible time, but couldn't take the dog to the dog park because he couldn't access the park in a wheelchair. So let's not have that situation occur again. Let's get on with it and let's budget for it and make it happen.
Councillor Snape, do you have any comments?
Very briefly, just to thank the resident for coming forward and speaking on behalf of your community. It's not an easy thing to do to stand in front of the chamber, and I certainly commend your actions in fighting for your community. I also want to acknowledge and thank Councillor Couros, Deputy Lord Mayor Noon and Councillor Giles for their advocacy on this issue. I think it's quite clear this is, in my opinion, council's bread and butter, looking after our communities, making sure our facilities are as accessible as possible to our communities. It's the old adage, society is only good as how we treat those most vulnerable, and if people, a large swathe of people cannot access something as what some might describe as simple as a dog park, but I would say is as important as a dog park, then we're not doing the right thing and we are leaving those communities behind. So I appreciate the councillors for bringing this forward to the chamber, and I hope that administration is able to clearly identify ways of funding this as soon as possible. Thank you.
So I think we're in furious agreement here, so we might draw it to a close in a moment. Councillor Stephen-Tritt, Councillor Davis, then I'll get Councillor Giles to sum up and we'll move on.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, equally in furious agreement. A question around implementation, though. So it strikes me that 3A through to E, there's a sequencing issue here. So I wouldn't want to see us be waiting till, let's say, August, September, when we get the results of the fourth quarter review before we implement some of these items. For example, 3E, putting up a sign. Surely we don't have to wait for a review of potential funding sources for that. So a question for administration is, with some of the, let's call them low-hanging fruit items in part 3, can we just crack on with those while the items that relate to dollars, such as a sealed path, are resolved as part of the Q4 review?
Through the presiding member, technically there isn't a fourth quarter review. We review the budget at the end of Q1, Q2 and Q3, and then we finalise the budget. So
so the question is, will there be low-hanging fruit that we can pluck?
And get on with almost immediately.
Might I suggest...
Parking's very low-hanging fruit. We can
through the presiding member, might I suggest a slight variation? Request administration to identify potential funding sources, including within, delete the fourth quarter. Within, within the, fourth quarter off, delete, strike out, fourth quarter off.
Can you just help us? I'm not sure what was...
Strike out within, strike out the fourth quarter off.
There are two those.
Yeah, and the next thing.
And the next the?
That gives the administration the...
Councillor Giles, you happy with that? Yeah. Thank you.
That's wonderful, Lord Mayor. Thank you. Appreciate that feedback.
Councillor Davis?
Did we have an estimate on the cost?
No, it's a commitment.
Okay. And then in that case, when will the report come back? Presumably, I don't expect that you would bring it back before the draft budget. When would that report come back to council? The funding might be identified, but...
We'll bring the report back as soon as we possibly can. I think the modification to part 4, if there are quite modest costs and there's scope within the 5-6 budget, they can be addressed and be reported on. Quick wins, if you wish, but more substantive items would need the consideration of council.
Can I also, I just have one further question, if I may, Lord Mayor, I'm concerned with point 4 means find money from one project and give it to another and basically move money around on projects that
people haven't complained on yet. Is that the intention behind point 4? Is this meant to be some efficiency saving, for example?
I think there's always a bit of slippage, and it's good to spend the money in a way that's fruitful. This seems to be a useful way to spend money. Can we ask Councillor, through the CEO, whether we can find funds?
Through the presiding member, our primary focus would be in relation to funding sources through improved revenues, rather than borrowing from existing projects that have been identified as priorities.
Look, in just speaking to the matter quickly, if I may, Lord Mayor, I do think that this matter highlights the flaw of our current budgeting process, and given that this request was made during this council term and promises were made and then forgotten, but I think we should be thankful to have a resident who has stuck up for Dan, because without her advocacy, this likely would have been forgotten and never returned to again or thought of again by this council. And in my view, it should not be like this, and I am very concerned that this council is letting down our most vulnerable ratepayers.
So could I now ask Councillor Giles to sum up the amendment? I hate to push you along unnecessarily, but I understand some councillors are going to leave early and we may become inquarate. So Councillor Giles.
My understanding, as CEO has pointed out, is that this isn't a large budget request, and there's I'm assuming there would be some flexibility with other budgets, so we're not taking from other projects. So I thank Councillor Davis for his question, because that's a really important point as well. And so, regardless, so I sum up. That's my sum up.
So thank you. All those in favour of the amendment? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Now, Councillor Kouros, this now becomes the motion. You could sum up if you wanted to, or you could just accept it and move on.
I understand, Lord Mayor, that we're pressed for time here, so I'll sum up.
Thank you, Councillor Kouros. All those in favour of the motion as amended? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, members. Now, I'm sorry to push you along at this rate, and I just apologise to Mr Renton, but we will get back to you in a moment. But I do understand that there's some pressure. We have an advisor in the gallery. We will just be going into camera for a brief item.
Lord Mayor, may I ask the people in the gallery, they may be waiting for a specific item. Are they here for the petition? In which case, we've already done it and we won't talk about it again, but perhaps they should be advised, otherwise you'll be here all night. And whilst we would love some company.
Thank you. They could wait if they wanted to, because we'll have a motion without notice, and might only be 15 minutes with this item.
Well, shouldn't we move to that now? I'd move that we move to the item if it's pertinent. If there's a motion without notice, that we move to it now, and then we can let these good people go home.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm afraid I'm running the meeting, and I've made a decision.
Yeah,
I'm going to exclude the public.
It's a motion to move to that item. It's a motion by me to move to that item so our gallery can depart. A formal motion.
Sorry? So we'll ask for a seconder if you want to dispute the ruling of the chair. Any seconder? No, thank you. Thank you, members. Could I then ask, with your indulgence, if we could move to item 21? And I would just explain to those in the gallery, we have to deal with one urgent matter, which will last 15 minutes, and then if you would like to come back, please do. So could I ask someone to move 21? Moved by Deputy Lord Mayor, seconded by Councillor Marr. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. That's the exclusion of the public. So can I just apologise to the gallery? We have an item that we have to resolve this evening. If you would like to just wait outside. I am aware that several members have to leave in a few minutes, and I apologise for pushing along the gallery in this way. Sorry?
We're back in streaming live in public.
So we're now streaming back in public. Do we know if they've gone to the pub or are they still there? Members, while we're waiting for the gallery to return, can I ask if someone would like to move item 11, which is Caterpillar? Councillor Snape, would you like to move that? Moved by Councillor Snape, seconded by Councillor Davis. Any comments on Caterpillar? All those in favour? All those against? Can I do that again? All those in favour? Against? Caterpillar. It was just noting. Thank you. So can I apologise to the gallery for that disruption? I'm sorry we didn't even have refreshments for you, but can I thank you for coming back? I'm now going to move on, and I know that Councillor Martin has a motion which we will take as a question without notice. Sorry, a motion without notice. Councillor, I think you've distributed. Do you have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Snape.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and look, may I also repeat your apologies to the gallery. The matter we were required to deal with was urgent and somewhat onerous, but anyway. Lord Mayor, the motion on notice, may I just read the motion for elected members? I've distributed it. It essentially gives voice to the petition that was tabled earlier this evening. It asks that, having considered the petition, that the meeting notes a short-term liquor licence for St Anne's was assessed and approved by Consumer and Business Services for a recent event, and it asks the administration to advise CBS, that is Consumer and Business Services, which operates the liquor licensing division, that the council has received a petition from residents regarding the events at St Anne's, seeks to be consulted about any application for the granting of a liquor licence for future outdoor events for the premises, and requests that any future licence assessments in that location takes into consideration neighbouring residents. They have formally complained about excessive noise. They would prefer events, if they were to be held indoors, and it seeks to limit noise emissions in future. And in addition, and finally, asks the administration to write to St Anne's to express our disappointment, might I add, Lord Mayor, our bitter disappointment about the communication that was sent to residents, which I've distributed, and which suggests that Council approved the event that was conducted on the 14th of March.
Councillor, can I, well, I'm fearful of being regarded as irritating on part 2B, but I think it's very difficult for Council to be disappointed. They are long-suffering and they do tolerate quite a bit. I wonder if we might do something like saying to clarify the mechanism to be undertaken to approve events of the type which occurred on the 14th of April.
Well, Lord
it's
Mayor,
a slightly more, not weaselly way of doing it, but it's not quite as emotional as the disappointment.
Well, Lord Mayor, I'm happy for you to suggest an amendment. Disappointment seems to me to be a reasonable emotional state. Most of the residents are completely outraged, as indeed I was.
Oh, sorry, it's elected members are disappointed, not...
That's correct, Lord Mayor.
I see.
The council is disappointed. But I'm happy to change that to outraged if you'd prefer.
No, I
There's another question. Is the second II hanging, Adelaide known?
I'm sorry, can I just... I think this is a point of order, Councillor. Could you just sit down while
Certainly.
I listen to Councillor Davis, because I think he's trying to help me.
I'm always trying to help you.
I know you are.
2A II, it just ends at known. Is there more to that motion, or has that been cut off? Or
Sorry, I'm not quite sure what you're saying. I must be Can you help me?
seeks to be consulted about any application?
Known. Yes, there's a known hanging at the end of part 2.
Oh, I beg your
Thank
pardon,
you,
Lord
Councillor.
Mayor. The known...
Oh, known as St Anne's.
Correct. Correct. Yes, I'm sorry, that was in the original. I'm not sure why it's not there. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Davis. Lord Mayor, let me just say that this event on the 14th of March wasn't the first. This has been an ongoing problem for as long as I can remember. And Lord Mayor, I can remember a long way back. This indeed has been regarded as the party house among residential colleges in North Adelaide. And you're left to wonder, how could this possibly happen? Well, Lord Mayor, let me tell you, it's happened through regulation. Whenever St Anne's wants to have a liquor licensed event, it applies to the Consumer and Business Services and the Liquor Division. It applies for a licence to sell or to make alcohol available and to have entertainment. And the regulations require that from time to time, at the discretion of the Commissioner, there's a consultation with affected parties. The City of Adelaide is occasionally consulted, but asked to comment only on the application on the basis of whether it meets planning regulations. Now, Lord Mayor, inevitably, a planning regulation would allow almost anything but that which is prohibited. And in this circumstance, generally the city says, well, look, there's nothing against the planning laws that prevent this, but is ignored. Indeed, one of the most distressing aspects of this whole saga for residents is that nobody seems to be able to do anything about it. When they ring the City of Adelaide, the response is, not unnaturally, well, we can't do anything about it. And when the police are called, there's a similar response. Rarely do they attend. Now, this will be addressed by this motion, and I urge everyone to support it, because it enables the City of Adelaide to say to the Licensing Commissioner, may I have a moment longer, Lord Mayor? To say to the Licensing Commissioner, whenever we are aware, and we will make it our business to be aware, whenever we are aware there is an application for a liquor licence, for an event with entertainment, that the residents of the area are annoyed about the excessive noise that emanates from the property, that it expects it to be controlled, that it prefers events to be indoors, and that excessive noise will not be tolerated. That will allow the administration to convey that strongly to liquor licensing, and hopefully, Lord Mayor, hopefully, we'll not be back in here in another 6 months complaining again about the actions of what is, in this circumstance, an extraordinary and unwelcome event. Lord Mayor, I urge members to support this. I urge them to empower not only the administration, but the residents who've had enough.
I think we're going to be in furious agreement. The seconder, drunken revelry.
Very briefly, just to thank Councillor Martin for swiftly moving behind his advocacy behind distressed residents. I typically, I'm not against events per se, but in this instance, the how it's come about is certainly quite startling. And I think the sending out of a letter at such short notice, possibly, I don't want to make any assumptions here, with the intention of limiting reaction or the council's ability or anyone else's ability to react to that, I think is quite quite unfortunate. And so, and considering this does seem to be a series of events that have been happening according to the North Ward councillor, who I do believe knows what he's talking about, that certainly does seem to be quite a pressing concern. So I do wholeheartedly support this. As the council has said, it is showing our position to the Consumer and Business Services, which I think can be an important way of council showing its support for its community in North Adelaide. So yes, wholeheartedly support this.
So thank you. It's DLM and then Councillor Davis.
I totally support this. I would actually even like to see it broader, because I actually would like to look at other venues that repeatedly disrupt nearby residents, like serial offenders that this should apply to. But I have a question. Is St Anne's on the exemption rate list? Do they pay rates?
It is owned by not by the university, it's separate from the university, so I'm
They're a
not sure.
private school.
A private school providing residential accommodation?
A university.
I'm happy if that's a
We'll
question
We'll
on
take
notice.
that on notice.
take it on notice. Councillor Davis?
It was said that, there's nothing that the council can do, but my understanding was that there is something that council can do in terms of the Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act. I thought that was within our purview.
I think we have a response for that. It doesn't comply with that act. We can, through me to the CEO.
Through the presiding member, based on the fact that it's a liquor licence application, there is an exemption that removes powers from council regarding enforcement under the Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And then, has there been any contact from St Anne's with the council?
I don't know. Can I get a reply?
Through the presiding member, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I would think that before we send them the letter, which I am disappointed with them, that we would confirm that they didn't have contact with one of our staff members or officers. I'm not sure how you would do that quite. Yeah, no. However that process would be, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to be in a situation where council did, or an officer did indicate that they had some kind of approval, and that comes back to us.
I can assure you that if I'm signing the letter, I'll be very careful about the assertions.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Otherwise, yeah, it sounds absolutely awful. I'm sorry you experienced it.
I had a question for the administration, Lord Mayor. Similar to what Deputy Lord Mayor has expressed, I'm aware of quite a few instances in the city where there's unreasonable noise affecting residential areas, and I just wanted to ask the administration about, are we being consulted currently by CBS about examples of that noise happening, or is this is a new process effectively we'd be requesting?
Through the presiding member, we'd need to take that question on notice.
Okay, that's fine.
I think there has been a change to the EPA control and that they have cost shifted some of the tests to us.
Yes, I guess just to close that out, I would like any conversations with CBS to consider those other parts of the city. So if consultation is a better way for us to mitigate these impacts, I really think that should be City of Adelaide wide.
Councillor Kouros? And then I think we might be drawing to a close. Councillor Marr, quickly.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I think I might do a similar letter for some residents that are experiencing the same thing on O'Connell Street. It's been a constant problem within our city with residents working with, issues with noise and complaints in regards to this. But my question is in regards to exactly what Councillor Davis said, is that has communication ever been sought with St Anne's? Because Councillor Martin has said that it's continuously been a problem. It's been a problem for a very long time. It's been discussed with administration. Had we sat down and had a conversation with St Anne's, because to get to this point, because we're a community, and we're a community in North Adelaide that has very different people that we've got colleges, student colleges, we've got businesses, we've got hospitals, we've got, childcare centres, we've got schools, we've got so many different communities within North Adelaide, and I'm concerned that, if this has been an ongoing problem, if this has been an issue, if this has been talked about with councillors, if this has been directed to administration, Why haven't we had a conversation with St Anne's about it?
Well, I can confirm that in the last century, when I was Lord Mayor, I had several conversations about it with them directly because there were complaints
Lord
then.
Mayor, I'm not talking about 1997, but I'm talking about currently, because I hate seeing us get to this point. And the residents are living with it. They have to combat it. They're feeling like they're not being heard. We have to have a motion, which I love to do a motion, like I said, for other problems that we have with the city. If this is going to be the standard that we're going to have to do, is constantly having motions in order to have residents be heard, then this is not a way that we should be doing business within our city. We should be having these conversations and we should not be letting it get to this point.
I think we'll have to take that on notice, Councillor Moore.
I have a concern that 2B doesn't quite go far enough. It's quite 2B. Right to express St Anne's Express Council's disappointment. I actually have I have a legal concern that they've purported to they've given information on our behalf. So that's actually quite a bit more than.
I'm not prepared to take an amendment at this stage because I don't think there are many people who haven't spoken.
I'm not going to make an amendment, but perhaps we can, we can take this one offline and have a proper look at. It's actually quite dangerous to have a third party purporting to have spoken with the council and to have council approval for something. That is legally quite disturbing.
I'll check the documents before I sign it, and if necessary, come back to you.
And as far as the event permits go, just a question: is this something that we would have a permit for? Would we ever approve something like this as a function? Is this something that we would need to approve in any other situation?
As I understand it, for a liquor licence to be given, there is consultation with the council and we're within our rights to comment.
But that would be a permit, if we want to call it that, granted by the state. Is there anything that the council would actually have to approve? Do we have any?
Through the
They talk about event permits, but I don't know that we actually issue any for this.
through the presiding member, council issues events permits for events on public land, not private land.
Okay. I have several concerns about the legality of what they've actually
want to
given in
speak?
this letter.
Councillor Abrahimzadeh, I feel I have to let you speak, even though I'm trying to move it along.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, I think Councillor Couros touched on an important point. Now, I'll make my position clear. I will hesitantly support this, but the reason why I put it that way is because I think if there is a framework issue, then that should be addressed, and not for us to essentially look at issues and have a piecemeal approach. Now, I get plenty of correspondence from Central Ward councillors, Central Ward residents who are close to pubs and other entertainment venues. They complain to me about the noise levels, the patrons that are leaving the venues, and so on and so forth. So I think if there is a conversation to be had and if there's a framework to be further strengthened, and potentially an item that can go to the Capital City Committee or something along those lines, I think that's probably a better way to approach it rather than approaching issues when they do come up like this. Now, I thank the residents for coming in and presenting to the council. I think it's important that we hear from the residents and actually hear about the issues. But to me, this sounds like a gap that exists within a framework, and I think we're better off to address that gap rather than have a piecemeal approach.
Councillor Martin, do you want to sum up?
Yes, look, I do, Lord Mayor. There have been a lot of questions raised here, and it's really quite straightforward. There is a problem, and it is a particular problem. There is a process that is required for a residential college to have a licensed event with entertainment. That is applying to the state government's consumer and business services for a liquor licence with entertainment. It is, however, further complicated by the structure of these administrative colleges, which are by and large divisions of the university on federal land. This one, however, this college is on a privately owned property here in the city of Adelaide, run by a board which is appointed and which has the capacity to respond in a way that other university colleges do not. This is a peculiar one-off circumstance. It needs to be addressed, and the only way in which we as a council can address it is to speak directly with the Liquor Licensing Commissioner to convey the angst that is being caused to residents. This will do that. It will do it effectively. I urge members to support it without question in the interests of ensuring that the amenity of these people is protected.
And I'll just say something briefly from the chair before I take the vote, and that was that this house is actually quite significant in the history of the city of Adelaide because a lady mayoress called Lady Deborah Hackett lived there. She was married to Frank Molden of the Molden family, and she subsequently became Lady Molden and later Lady Buller Murphy, and she had rather fine parties there that were regarded as the most sophisticated and exciting parties in Adelaide that everyone wanted to be invited to. I suspect it's gone downhill since. Anyway, all those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Thank you for being so patient in the gallery, and we'll do what we can. You're very welcome to stay, but I can understand you wanting to go. Many of us do. Councillor Martin would like an amendment. Can I take one first? Councillor Freeman.
Yeah, so I was going to suggest taking it in parts, Lord Mayor, because I also have an amendment for 7.1. Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll seek a seconder for this amendment.
You can't second it. I want someone else to second it.
So this amendment responds to the discussion we had last week in committee. I appreciate that the administration have proposed some procedural improvements and some streamlining to the sustainability incentive scheme. However, there were a few things taken out of it as well, which we did discuss that the scheme's uptake is not where we would like it to be with residential apartments and businesses. And these items listed in Part 4 are things that are available to businesses and residential apartment residents, whereas some of the other scheme items that have been retained, like solar panels, are not available to them. So the amendment is simply to keep everything in as it is now, with the opportunity to review in 2027 when we have a new council and we can reflect on the low uptake in apartments and businesses, maybe think about some additional incentives. But it also allows all of those operational improvements to still go ahead as proposed, and simply, notes in Part 3 that further incentives will also be considered. So I urge members to support this.
Your seconder was Councillor Snape. Do you wish to speak? Anybody wish to speak in opposition to this? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is the extreme weather support, item 7.2. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the amendment. And that becomes the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you, members. Sorry, I got so excited at the thought of coming on to the next item. Part 2, Councillor Martin.
Lord Mayor, two things. I have an alternative or an amendment, and additionally I need to repeat again, I have a declared general conflict of interest.
So can I just say that we didn't move this, so Deputy Lord Mayor is free to second it. Okay, thank you. Councillor.
The general conflict is that I have a relative who is employed in the homeless sector at a division of Baptist Care. I do not believe that that prevents me from participating fully in the discussion that's to occur. Lord Mayor, the amendment I proposed is different to the administration's proposal, I accept. It is that council notes the administration's report, asks it to act on part 1 of the council resolution of February 10, and then asks it to contact the executive officer of the Independent Community-Wide Homeless Administrators Group.
Excuse me, can I just say that's 26, not 25? The date. Yeah, is that all right?
Yes, did I have 25 there?
Yes, it was 25, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lord Mayor.
I apologise.
Indeed, 26 it was. Part 1 asked the administration to detail a list of properties that are council-owned or controlled that might be suitable for temporary homeless accommodation during extreme weather. And the second part goes to the nub of what I wish to speak about.
Can you just clarify? I'm not sure if it was part of the resolution, why we have to do it again. Sorry, am I being...
That's because it wasn't actioned as part of the response by the administration.
Can I just... Would you just give me a moment to just
Certainly.
make sure I know that we're doing the right thing?
So the resolution of council was on the 10th of March, 2026.
Look, you may be right. I think I've got 10th of February here. Yep, look, I'm happy to accept that. 10th of March is indeed the date. And Lord Mayor, the resolution asks that the report to be provided to council details which council-owned community and/or business properties could be turned into safe temporary accommodation during the declaration of Code Blue Tier 2 activations as a trial program. That was not provided, and I will explain why it is necessary, if I may continue.
I need help because I can't piece it together in my mind. Would you just give me a moment to ask my advice?
Certainly.
Through the presiding member, the resolution of the 10th of March 2026 at part 1 that the administration provide details which council-owned community buildings could be turned into such. So it might be simpler to use that wording rather than refer obliquely to part 1.
Well, part 1 requires the administration to provide a report that details which council-owned community and/or business properties could be turned into safe, temporary accommodation during the declaration of Code Blue 2-tier activations as a trial program.
I think it's just good to be completely clear so that the staff are doing the right thing. So we'll cut and paste that in, but please carry on speaking.
That's fine, Lord Mayor. And look, it
and the
is
seconder's
important.
happy, whoever the seconder was. I've lost the seconder. Deputy Lord Mayor, thank you.
Lord Mayor, look, it may seem like a bit of a preamble, but I think it's important in order to explain the structure of homelessness in South Australia. In this city, as indeed throughout the whole of the state, the provision of homeless services is governed by a tender process. The successful tenderer to the government to run the Southern Alliance, which is the bit that Adelaide is part of, was Lutheran Care, and Lutheran Care has in turn contracted emergency accommodation for rough sleepers to Baptist Care, or West Care as it's known, to provide emergency accommodation in the city. Variously 50 to 100 or somewhat fewer than that, to accommodate the 250 rough sleepers that are sleeping on the streets of Adelaide tonight. Now, Baptist Care says that the 100 beds it has, or slightly less, is enough for the 250. Everything is okay, and it's honouring its contract. At least that's what the administration reported in its report. Now, there is another group. It is called ICAG, and it is referenced there. It is the Independent Community-Wide Homelessness Administrators Group. That is, in fact, a collective of 15 of the organisations working with the homeless in Adelaide. It includes groups like Vincent de Paul, Salvation Army, Aboriginal Sobriety Group, you name it, they're in that group. And that group, Lord Mayor, have said to me on numerous occasions that this is an important issue. In fact, the resolution of Council in March was the subject of a meeting of ICAG. And indeed, ICAG, I understand, formulated a view that it wished to talk to Council about this, in the understanding that it may be able to assist. Now, Lord Mayor, ICAG remains willing to discuss this issue because it believes that the current circumstances for homeless rough sleepers in this city during circumstances where there is a code blue two-tier, the circumstances are such there is just not enough shelter. Now, it may be that there are spare beds on occasion at Baptist Care, but that doesn't go to explain the significant issues that homeless people have in dealing with one only agency in the city. And the problem is, Lord Mayor, that it could be anything. It could be that people don't want to deal with religious institutions. It could be that there are people, may I have a moment longer, Lord Mayor? It could be that there is somebody in that care facility they don't like. It could be they don't like the security arrangements. It could be they don't like the smell of it. It could be anything. But the simple fact is there is one choice. And when this city had other choices, and it did, we had multiple venues where homeless rough sleepers could shelter for the night from extremes of weather and thereby avoid not only sickness, but in some cases, death that was a consequence of being exposed to the elements. They were able to find a bed. Now, Lord Mayor, the Independent Advisory Group is prepared to talk about this. It wishes, having expressed at its meeting in March, majority support for a discussion about this, it wishes to resume that discussion. And therefore, this asks, and I have the telephone number if it helps, this asks if the executive officer could speak to the council to discuss the matter further. Now, Lord Mayor, I know this is an unusual motion, but the fact of the matter is that everyone in this room tonight has in their hands the capacity to help rough sleepers in the city on those very few occasions in winter, 3, 4, 5, when the conditions are so strenuous, so onerous, that their lives are at risk. Now, the alternative is you can vote this down and, as I keep hearing people say, resolve this as a state government issue, or you can say, hang on, there might be a chance. There might be a chance we can help if we just talk to the people who actually run the homeless services in the city. Lord Mayor, that's all I ask, that happens.
I think I read the room, but your seconder may like to speak. I read the room.
I don't think this is an unusual motion at all. I think it makes perfectly good sense. I know that we did not discuss this motion or this recommendation at committee because it was the last one at the end of the night, was really late, and you and I both did not support it because we knew we were going to have this discussion at council. I did not know that this advisory group actually existed. This is absolutely making sense because my feedback is that the administration report really flies in the face of the feedback that I'm getting. So I'm very interested to explore this further, and I hopefully the rest of the council actually agrees with this, because this is a much better pathway. And I actually think that we should answer that 1.1. That was a really important question that we need to answer. And we do need to actually step up and take leadership here, even if the state government are doing an inadequate job, in my opinion.
Do you think?
Lord Mayor, because this is actually, I mean, I can see that Councillor Martin's very well informed by having a family member that works in the sector.
Lord Mayor, that's not the circumstance. A point of order. The information I've related comes from ICAG, not a family member, and to infer that the family member is presenting me with information from their employment is not only inappropriate, but it's damaging to that family member.
She had no intention of doing
I
that.
had no intention, Lord Mayor. I'm only going by the what Councillor Martin said in regards to his conflict. I'm a little bit. This has been going, like I've said, it's Groundhog Day. It's continuous. Every year we have the same motion to help during this time. But in this circumstance in which we provide with our community assets, which we're talking about, what's left is what, libraries, town halls.
Councillor, I've lost the thread.
In the sense that we've got our last community assets I'm thinking of, which I can think of only U Parks, town hall, libraries. What else do we have left? Not much. Offices.
Community centre.
You know. So with that setup, if we open up our assets and offer them as temporary accommodation, with that we've got security, we need counsellors, we need all of that addressed. So if this is going to come back as a trial program, I assume as a report, well, yes, sorry, as a report.
It will have the cost of it as well.
Will that have all the costs associated
It will
with
have the cost, and it will be very quick turnaround by the end of April.
Right, okay.
If it can be achieved.
I would like that detailed in there, because I know that that would be, and also the town hall would be offered here in our chambers. I'm quite happy to offer my office. I hardly ever use it, but I would be interested to know how that would work.
All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. We'll move on to the next item. No reports from the CEO. We whizzed past my report, which is just briefly to say there was a lot of sport in the last 2 weeks. I attended the Men's Turf Cricket Association Awards Night. Many of us went to the Sheffield Shield Victory Parade in Rundle Mall, and I also went to the launch of the Adelaide Climate Action Week. On top of that, I attended, as many of you did, several gather-round games, and I would like to thank the staff who worked really hard to keep the streets clean, to manage the activity at night, keeping the streets welcoming and clean. They did a brilliant job, and also should congratulate the Rundle Mall team, who also worked hard to put lots of events on. I attended Victor Harbour's LGA board meeting, and it's been an interesting few weeks, and I'm sure that many of you have enjoyed it and are now getting ready to come back to work full-time. Any reports from council members? Councillor, Deputy Lord Mayor.
I represented you, Lord Mayor, at the Coastal Command Memorial Dedication Pathway of Honour. This was commemorating the World War II service of RAF aviators in Coastal Command. This dedication finally honours the unsung heroes of Coastal Command whose courage, sacrifice and service in World War II helped protect vital lifelines and defend freedom, yet for too long went without due recognition. So it was a wonderful event. And last Saturday, I also attended the Indieverse, represented you at the Indieverse book event held this year in North Adelaide. This is an annual event. It was a wonderful celebration of literature, creativity and community, shining a light on writers and storytellers and the important role they play in enriching our cultural life. Many stories have been based in Adelaide, with one being just about to be released, not probably about Adelaide, let's hope, on local government, commissioned by a current sitting mayor, and one can only hope that real-life parallels are subtle enough to avoid awkward glances across the council chamber. So they were two very, very...
Lord Mayor, I had the opportunity to represent you at the Lord Mayor's Community Petanque Championship. Unfortunately, I can report that I did only finish runner-up, so I'll have to do more work in my technique for next time. Also attended and laid a wreath at the 105th birthday of the RAF recognition at Torrens Parade Ground, and also attended, along with Councillors Kouros, Davis and Marr, the joint meeting of Adelaide Parks Rotary and also Hutt Street Traders, which was a good event, good opportunity for that community to reflect on discussions, particularly in relation to Hutt Street. Can also just briefly note that I had the opportunity to go out and see the work that the team is doing around tree martins, and just wanted to recognise the significant effort that's going in Rundle Mall and just the absolute fascination from members of the public who are there on the evening as the birds descended en masse at sunset.
Thank you, Councillor Davis.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me about the Hutt Street Traders event, which I did attend as well. I also attended the festivities in Rundle Mall. I really did gather around. I wasn't lucky enough to secure tickets to an actual game, but I do want to note that the stench from the bird feces was quite unbearable, particularly after rain. And there appeared to be people who were sprinkling oats underneath benches as well and encouraging more birds to locate into the area. I also note that the tables of benches there were covered in bird feces and no one could actually sit down. And so I'd ask the administration if they could potentially increase cleaning underneath the trees where benches are, because they become inoperative in that period. I've got footage if you don't believe me. I know it's a wild, a wild accusation to say that there's bird crap on benches, but if the administration could potentially increase their cleaning of that and also underneath the benches, because I think a lot of the putrid stench is coming from underneath those benches. And if you don't believe me that there's bird crap on the benches, I'm happy to show you footage of it.
Through the presiding member, I can assure the councillor that the administration is committed to uplift of cleansing regimes where it's required, and your comments are noted.
Councillor Marr? No? Councillor Freeman? Councillor Kouros? Giles? Snape?
I seek to make a personal explanation, Lord Mayor, if that's okay. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank the community for their overwhelming support in the recent state election. It's been one of my great honours and privileges representing the community here at the City of Adelaide for the last 5 years, and to take that next step to try and advocate for a lot of these issues which are on the cusp of state and council area, such as protecting our parklands, fighting for a community voice and development, and better accountability and transparency. I put myself forward. It is a difficult thing to do, and it's honestly one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life, and I can promise you here, I've never worked harder, and it was a great honour to be out there campaigning and talking to people about the issues that matter. It was a tough election. It was a tough election for independents, especially in the metro area, although I'm very, very honoured to have received 2,002 votes from the community members, one of the highest votes for an independent candidate within the City of Adelaide, within the metropolitan Adelaide area. Yes, it has been indeed a great honour, and I look forward to returning back to the council now and continue my advocacy on the issues that I've mentioned, and to promise people I'm not going anywhere. So thank you for your support and for your time. I appreciate it.
I should just make it clear that you weren't actually representing me or the other council members in that campaign, just in case anyone...
No, of course. It was a personal explanation, Lord Mayor, not a council report per se. I just thought it was the appropriate timing to make it.
Of my report and the councillors' reports together. Moved by Deputy Lord Mayor, seconded by Councillor Davis. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. We'll move on
17.2.
17.2. Councillor Davis.
Thank you.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, just declaring a material conflict with this item, so I'll be leaving the chamber.
I'm sorry? Can I just ask that Councillor Davis seeks leave to go past 8:30, otherwise we may be caught at the end of the meeting. So can I ask if we have all those who wish to go past 8:30? All those in favour, all those against? Are you against going past 8:30? Okay. That's carried. Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Look, I won't speak to it. I just think that, this is something that's been a matter of public debate. And I'll save any comments and if I need to sum up. But we've got a lot on the agenda tonight. But thank you.
To say that I'm a strong supporter of free and cheaper and more accessible public transport, and I believe this follows on from a motion from Councillor Giles advocating for 50-cent public transports previously. I think considering the time and the situation we find ourselves in, and the fact that this has been done in Victoria and Tasmania, I think this is a no-brainer from the state government from my perspective.
I have an amendment which I sent through. Oh, here we go. So I cannot, I need a seconder. Do you have a seconder? I don't know if I do. Councillor Lawson. Thank you. This is not losing the vibe or the concept of Councillor Davis' motion. This is actually just making it. Sorry?
I do object in relation to the dollar fare. The intention of making it is a considerable departure from my motion in terms of applying a dollar fare. There's a significant difference in one is you can just get on the bus and come into the city, whereas one is you still have to go through the entire process. So I'd object to an inclusion of a fee because the entire point is that removes that barrier to entry where this preserves that barrier to using public transport.
Just in that comment, my comment is that I would prefer not to support 1 to 3 of your original motion either. And I think that the amendment that the Deputy Lord Mayor's put up saying may have actually synthesises my problems, that these are all assertions. I prefer the motions to just be requesting and instructions, but can I have some advice about the $1 fare? Is that a substantial aberration or change?
Through the presiding member, the motion published spoke about the introduction of free public transport. A $1 cap is not free public transport.
Okay, so that means I shouldn't accept it. Okay, I apologise, Deputy Lord Mayor. I've been advised not to accept the motion. So we'll go back to Councillor Davis's motion, which has been seconded by Councillor Snape. I could advise you that you should vote against it and then put up your motion if that is if the voting against is successful. So you have foreshadowed an alternative motion. So Councillor Siebentrit.
Just a request that we take this in parts, Lord Mayor, just for noting your comment earlier on around some assertions in 1 through to 3.
I can do that. If I get to vote, I'll be voting against 1 to 3. Councillor Marr?
Can I move an amendment which would be the Deputy Lord Mayor's Part 5 and the removal of 1 to 3?
Sorry, my memory is not up to this. What was the Deputy Lord Mayor's 5?
If we scroll down, it was the addition of the specifics about the correspondence. And then the existing 5 becomes 6.
Sorry, what about 6?
The existing 5 becomes 6, and then they actually become 1, 2 and 3 because we're removing 1, 2 and 3. So it takes the substance of what the Deputy Lord Mayor was going to do without removing the free public transport component.
I'm just trying to work out what's happening.
Point of order.
Yes, what's your point of order?
Councillor Marr seconded the
motion, Carmel's
It wasn't accepted.
amendment, Deputy Lord Mayor's amendment. Is he allowed to make?
It wasn't accepted, so that
Oh,
he didn't
right.
get
Okay,
to do it.
Thank you, it's just procedural.
I'm sorry, we're just trying to keep on track here. You're going to move
An amendment, which is,
there's 5. There's another 5 on there.
yes, so that other 5 should be 6.
Is that a 6? I'm sorry, I'm
Yep.
confused. Is that 6?
But we don't need to fix that. We just need to copy what's in there as part 5.
Okay, so we delete 6 so that we're not totally confused.
No. We keep it there. If we copy what's written as part 5 here and go back to the original, delete 1, 2 and 3. And then after 4 add, yeah.
Just not the deletion. I'm happy to put in 5. I'm happy with
Or it can go as a 6.
You're happy to have 5?
Yeah.
Okay, are you happy to delete 1 to 3 as well?
Well, no. I mean, just take it in parts if you don't believe that there are cost of living pressures. But
I'm happy to take it in parts and add this as a new 6.
But it doesn't help to instruct the staff, that's all.
I'm happy with 5, but I'd ask to leave in 1, 2 and 3, and if members don't believe that there is a cost of living crisis or a pressure, if they don't believe that discretionary spending,
So can we just help the...
then vote against it.
Are you happy to take these variations?
Yes, just not the deletion of 1, 2.
The variation has been accepted, is it?
Just not the deletion of 1, 2.
So it's, I'm sorry, you're not happy to have 1, 2 and 3? Deleted.
I want them in.
Okay.
So if you hate them, then vote against it.
I would rather move the full
I
amendment.
think that I have become bogged down. I need help.
Yes. What's on the screen is what I'd like to put forward.
Okay, so we have to accept the amendment from Councillor Marr because he has forwarded it and clarified what he wants to say. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Marr's amendment?
The amendment takes away the noting, which we don't need to do.
So we don't have a seconder for Councillor
I
Marr.
think it might be Deputy Lord Mayor.
Deputy Lord Mayor, are you seconding this? No, she's foreshadowed. She has foreshadowed. Sorry, Councillor Siebentrit. Are you? Councillor Siebentrit has seconded it. Please, let's go on, otherwise we'll be here all night. Sorry.
Thank you. This, I think, takes into account everyone's thoughts, with the exception of the $1 fare. It gets rid of the noting, which we understand we probably don't need to do that, and it opens a door for some issues for us, so we'll get rid of that. And it keeps the substance of Councillor Davis's motion, which is we write a letter about the free public transport, and it includes the specifics that the Deputy Lord Mayor wished to include in the previous version of her amendment, which was not accepted. I think this keeps everyone 90% happy, and I'm seeing some nodding faces around, so we'll go from there. Thank you.
Before you speak, the Deputy Lord Mayor seconded this amendment.
No, I didn't. No.
Sorry?
I only like section 3. I don't like the other bits, so I didn't actually.
So you're not seconding it? Okay. Sorry? Councillor Siebentrit seconded it. I apologise. Do you want to speak to it? Thank you. Now, Councillor Martin. I'm sorry, I'm getting off track here.
That's all right. Look, it's a question, Lord Mayor. I'm just confused. We're concerned to offer free public transport to enhance business in the city, to enable people, to help businesses and relieve cost of living pressures. But aren't we asking for buses to take people to Burnside and Glenelg and everywhere else as well?
I think that
3E needs to come out because
I understand.
So if it's free transport across the whole of Adelaide,
Yes.
doesn't it mean we're paying for people as taxpayers for them to go to Burnside?
Can I say that free transport generally assists the CBD because of the radial nature of the transport? But the problem
I can
mainly
accept that as a
is
variation,
that
CEO,
it's
thank you.
increased public transport patronage already because it's cheaper than car parking and driving. So the impact is occurring without our help, without their help.
Lord Mayor, might I assist? You've got an inconsistent motion before you.
I think E only reflects the Deputy Lord Mayor's motion, so.
That's correct. I'm happy to accept that as
So that's
variation
been,
on the CEO's
we agree
advice.
that we will vary that and delete it, and your seconder, Councillor Stephen-Tritt, will be happy. Okay. So Councillor Martin had a question that has been answered. Are you going to speak? It is a camel. No. Councillor Marr, would you like to sum up
Summed up.
Summed up? That we're voting on the amendment. All those in favour?
It in parts,
Of course we may.
because and I'd probably call divisions on each
Would the
point.
seconder be happy to take it in parts? Yes. And the mover? So part one, request the CEO right. All those in favour?
No, the deletion is also the amendment.
Okay.
So if you don't believe that people have cost of living pressures, then you can.
Sorry?
Yeah. So that they're individual amendments. So you've got to vote on deletions.
Okay, we'll take it in parts. 1 to 3 deleting. All those in favour? Against? It's not deleted, it's noting is in there. So we've lost that part of the motion, so we'll redo the numbering. Do we want 1 to 3 together? Well, whatever it is, it's 2 to 6 together. 2 to 3. Sorry, 4 to 6. The new 4 to 6 together. All those in favour? Oh, 4 to 6 together. Councillor Marr, all those in favour?
We've lost the plot.
Yeah. Shall we take this vote again? The deletion of 1 to 3 has been lost. The council chamber is now being asked to vote on the next 3 paragraphs, which will effectively be labelled 4, 5 and 6. So we'll take that together, 4, 5 and 6 together.
So it's just 6, Lord Mayor, because that was the amendment. So it would just be.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's just 6 we need to vote on now. I apologise. For item 6, all those in favour? 2, 3, 4. Against? 1, 2, 3. That's carried. And now that becomes the motion. Do you wish to take it in parts again, Councillor Davis? No. So we'll put it together, 1 to 6 together. Do you wish to sum up?
Yeah. Look, I don't think that 1 to 3 are controversial in any way. And I do think that, at least the council should surely be able to recognise that. I don't see it as the most controversial thing in the world to say that people are struggling from elevated petrol prices. I am. I'm sure many of you are. I don't think it's a wild accusation. In particular, I am quite concerned with the number of the data sets that are coming out in relation to the City of Adelaide, particularly at the start of the year. And I think that as the data sets for March and April come out, that will be particularly worsened. I struggle to agree with the Tasmanian Greens, but I do, and I'm fully on board with the Tasmanian Greens proposal and their advocacy in Tasmania. And they've seen a huge increase in the use of public transport in Tasmania by about 30%. Now, this is not a long-time thing. It's simply for a short period of time. Now, will the government adopt this? Probably not. But I do think it's important for the council to advocate on behalf of CBD businesses who will be adversely affected, more so by people saying to work from home or reducing the use of their car. We have a long agenda tonight, and I don't want to take up any more time. I seek your support, members.
Summed up, so it's all those in favour? All those against? That's carried. I'm sorry? It's your motion, not mine. We'll move on to the next. Deputy Lord Mayor, 17.3.
Yeah, we just need to get Councillor Freeman back.
Can we find Councillor Freeman, please? Councillor Noon.
I know, I need a seconder.
I mean, should we be noting that there's potential for an escalating Middle East conflict?
It's my turn, Councillor Davis. Look, the motion asks the CEO to provide a report on scalable options for the 26-27 budget and business plan, having regard to the potential impacts of the escalating Middle East conflict, including inflationary pressures, market disruption, cost of living pressures, business conditions and council long-term financial sustainability. It specifically asks for options that could be activated, adjusted or withdrawn if conditions materially worsen or not. That is a sensible and responsible request. My concern is that the administration's comment does not fully answer the question being asked. The motion seeks a forward-looking contingency report. The comment instead focuses on why a support package may not be warranted at this time. That is a different question. I know we have quarterly budget reviews and contingency plans in this situation would assist in these discussions. I also think the comment leans too heavily on early indicators and assumptions that may now be overtaken by events. It relies on the 7th of April workshop, which was postponed to tonight before the council meeting, and suggests the current impacts are largely limited to inflationary effects from disrupted oil supplies, and that the most likely case is a temporary period of higher inflation and economic discomfort. But that is only one scenario. What this council should be asking is not simply whether the impact is severe today, but whether we are adequately prepared if a disruption is deeper, broader or longer lasting than first expected. This is not only about petrol prices, it is about the possible flow-on effects to cost of living, discretionary spending, small business confidence, supply chains, visitation, council revenue assumptions and the resilience of our city economy. The motion expressly asks for evidence-based options and relevant data, including economic visitation, trading, parking and market data, not between March 2025 and March 2026. We need to be forward-looking. That is exactly the kind of disciplined planning we should be doing before pressures become visible, not after. So I'm putting forward this motion because I believe good governance and prudent management planning requires us to be prepared. Supporting this motion does not mean saying a support package must happen now. It means asking administration to bring back a fuller scenario analysis and scalable response options that this council may need to put in place to protect us from what is now the unseen future. Thank you.
Your seconder, Councillor Siebentrud.
Lord Mayor, I believe it was a former Prime Minister who said we need to be alert but not alarmed when certain emergencies come before us. And I think this is a good example where this is not about being alarmed, this is about being alert to the type of issues that we may have to deal with as a council. We heard earlier tonight in the City Finance and Governance Committee that members are still making their mind up, still obtaining information, forming a view, forming a position on how we need to manage our budget, the draft budget that's about to go out for consultation, but also how we'll look at budget management, prudent budget management beyond that. So What I see here is a request from the Deputy Lord Mayor, which simply says, let's be alert, not alarmed. Let's look at scalable options. Let's be aware of what choices we may have into the future, so that can inform prudent forward planning. I think this is what we would largely expect to do in building contingencies anyway, but for the reason that this helps us be better prepared as we're forming our opinion, I'm happy to support it.
I support this. I think it makes sense. I just want to ask, and not to throw any disrespect to Mover or Seconder, but are we? I'd imagine that we're already doing this, that as part of the budget and planning process. That's what I envisioned from what we're not doing any. Sorry, I'm hearing speaking different areas. That might be the case. Is the administration itself not looking at different scalable options around contingencies? Okay, then yes, I'll support it then.
Barter?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I've actually got an amendment to the motion before us that I sent through to administration before the meeting. What?
Sorry?
So I'll just speak to the amendment before us. So I understand the intent of Councillor O'Neill's motion. Oh, am I good to go, Lord Mayor? What happened? So, however, based on the information already provided to Council, administration has advised that the impact currently being observed are expected to be temporary and manageable, and that the seed activity indicators remain relatively stable. We have also already received analysis through recent workshops, and administration has indicated...
Councillor, I think that I'm being advised it's an alternative motion. And it
Why?
does, we're requesting for, I'm just trying to line it up with the previous,
Of course,
the one that's printed.
I'm just going based on administration's comments.
Can I have some advice? I think it's too far.
Anyway, the amendment simplifies the motion and focuses on continued monitoring through normal processes.
I get the impression that you're trying to delete D, the feasibility and funding implications of a contingency business support fund.
I'm just trying to keep the motion simple like you recommend, Lord Mayor. It's got everything in it.
Can it be turned into an amendment?
Lord Mayor, this might work as a new 4 and 5.
I'm sorry, just a moment. I need some help because I can't quite see how it lines up.
Through the presiding member, an amendment, no. An alternative motion, yes, with a bit of work. So my sense for it to make any sense, it would need to retain element 1 of the motion moved by Councillor Noon, so it'd be 1 without the A, B, C, D, E, F. That then feeds into notes this request is for and requests, but it'll be an alternative motion, not an amendment.
I'm sorry, Councillor Kabada. It's my impression is that the bit you don't like is D, the feasibility and funding applications of a contingency business fund, isn't it? Or have I misinterpreted your?
The whole lot, mainly.
The whole lot.
Yeah, the whole lot mainly.
Okay. Council members would vote against it and then come back and support an alternate motion afterwards.
Can I speak to this motion then? That Councillor Noon's done, not my... Yeah, her motion. Can I speak to it?
I think you can.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. So, I understand the intent behind this motion and I appreciate it's coming from a place of concern for businesses, ratepayers and the broader economy. But I don't think this motion is right at this time. Administration has been quite clear with us. The current data does not show that a support package is warranted. In fact, the available indicators suggest seed activity is holding. We've been told card spending, hotel demand, food traffic, parking and public transport boarding are all being well monitored. And the evidence in front of us does not point to the kind of downturn that would justify this level of intervention. We've also been told that while there may be short-term inflationary pressure, this is not comparable to COVID and it should not be treated as such. What concerns me is that this motion risks pushing council into reacting before the evidence actually supports that reaction. Administration has already said that existing hardship measures and quarterly budget reviews give council flexibility to respond if conditions do worsen. So there's already a mechanism in place. On top of that, administration comment makes it very clear that carrying this motion would involve a major rework of the budget and business plan, significant staff time, and could even delay the budget adoption process beyond 30th of June. I don't think that is prudent when the evidence before us does not justify it. If conditions worsen and the evidence change, then council could and should consider an appropriate response. But today, based on the information before us, I do not think this motion is necessary. For those reasons, I will not be supporting it.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
What I really like about this motion is not necessarily if there is some imminent disaster, but it would be relevant to prepare for that circumstance. But it will ask the administration to essentially go through and prioritise all of its spending in this budget. And my view is that our council rate increase should be 3.5% at a maximum. And what this motion will do, which I think is great, is ask the administration, what are the capital upgrades that you would recommend that we scrap, for example, that aren't necessary, that don't contribute? You know, what would we do if businesses were under pressure, and how could we provide them with relief? And how could we provide them with that support? But to me, I think I quite like the idea of going through and asking for an emergency response where the administration would identify what from our budget could be cut, should we be required as a council to tighten our belts. And so it's not, you know, a motion of that ilk. However, I think it could certainly perform that task. And I am extremely concerned about the state of Australia and the ability for people to put food on their table. I know 1 in 6 children in Australia live in poverty. And to me, this motion, whilst about oil and Donald Trump, might very well feed into a real application and a real tightening of our belt here in the city of Adelaide to alleviate quite disastrous circumstances and increase in child poverty from 13 to 15% in Australia. So I'll support it because I want to figure out what we can cut.
Look, I know that the current situation is a bit mad. We wake up every morning and look at our news feeds and go, you know, what's happened today? We're living in madness with no planning because we're subject to a war that has just come out of the blue. So it doesn't seem to have any rationalisation or any, one day we're going to have peace and the next day we're not, and one lot's blockading a thing and then the other one blocks it as well. It's just craziness. We're living in craziness, and my view is you don't plan around craziness. If the Australian government is not even going down this road of thinking about this, because instead of that they're just going around and making sure that we've got some things in place in case it does go pear-shaped. But I really don't think I want our administration distracted onto this task. I totally support what Councillor Kavadas, what Councillor Kavadas has said. It's not the time to do this, and especially I actually agree with the analysis of Councillor Davis, and I'm very worried about his motivation about supporting this motion. Yeah, I think this is the wrong time. I think that we should be aware of this stuff, but we shouldn't plan around something that is so unplannable. It's so mad and unpredictable that we need to take our advice from everyone else in the world as well, and not be the leaders in planning for a crisis when other people are not doing the same thing.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I have a lot of problems with this motion before us. It's contradictory in some places. It's putting a significant burden on our administration staff. And parts of this we are already doing, and parts of this we don't need to do or shouldn't do. We just had the CFG committee before. We were presented with an option that already minimises our rate increase proposed for 26-27. We've done that already, and a question earlier, the administration indicated that they will continue to do most of this work. Obviously, we will always prioritise our core services if it comes to that, but we're not at that point yet, which is what the administration comments provided in the meeting paper. The C, measures to support city businesses, including temporary outdoor dining fee relief. I think we've talked about this to death. I don't understand why we keep talking about the... Anyway, I don't even want to talk about that anymore. I'm sick of hearing about it.
Thank you.
Moderated U-Park pricing. We can't necessarily do that, and I don't know why we would do that when the administration comment shows that it's a significant part of our revenue and that the usage is actually increasing. So I don't know why we would ever do that as a budget measure. It's cutting off our legs. So that doesn't make sense to me. However, I'd be happy to let it slide because it does say other targeted support initiatives. But on the whole, it's unsupportable in this form. The feasibility and funding implications contingency business support fund, sure, but then what is that doing for the residents? They're not getting anything out of this either. So there's a lot of contradictions in this. It's very pro-business, but I can't see a justification for it at this time. And I just don't see how, on the whole, anyone prudent could support this today.
Councillor Couros?
Lord Mayor, I think I'm one of the only 3 councillors that was here during COVID. And that's when a response was really warranted. I get what Deputy Lord Mayor is thinking of, and I fully support if this action is required when we get to that point, but we don't even have an Australian government that is going into crisis mode. We don't even have a state government that's going into crisis mode. They're not even reviewing any of this at the present moment, but we may. I'm not saying that this may not happen, and it may be an issue, but it may not be the points that Deputy Lord Mayor is looking at this present moment. It might be a completely different issue that we might need to respond to. And I don't want to jump into something right now and have administration work on it for something that may not need or may not be in the direction that we need to go to. I think we need to be very mindful and very respectful that this is a possibility, but we also need to tread very cautiously about where we put our energies if this is a need and a concern, and we need to put measures in place. While I do enjoy the temporary outdoor dining relief and moderating the U-Park pricing, and while I do think that we need to look at contingencies and business support fund, this is actually a lot. The contingency for business support fund is probably in the model that AIDA have presented to us as what they would like to increase within within their scope. But what I'm thinking at the present moment is that while I commend Deputy Lord Mayor for forward thinking, I commend her bringing this through, I don't think it's warranted right now. Let's just tread very cautiously. Let's not create a panic. Let's just see what the impacts will be over the next 3-4 weeks and or coming months, and we can adjust ourselves if we need to, because I'm sure administration will come to us or someone will be doing a motion for an immediate reaction on what is happening out there.
So thank you, Councillor. Deputy Lord Mayor, would you like to sum up? Oh, sorry, Councillor Freeman, I missed you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I only just put my hand up. Actually, is anyone left to second an amendment, or has everyone spoken?
I didn't hear.
Is anyone left to second a potential amendment, or have we all spoken? No, Councillor Martin. I'm just wondering if A through to F is gone, and it's at the administration's discretion to provide a report on scalable options. Does that... Pardon?
Don't have an amendment, we have a foreshadowed motion.
Oh, look, I was just trying to reduce... I'm just trying to detangle this because I do think that we should have a plan. We should be thinking about this. We're the capital city, and I think we should be leading and at least having some regard to what potential impacts might be. But if this is too prescriptive, there are a lot of voices happening in the chamber. Well, thank you.
I'm sorry, are you trying to, I'm sorry, I've just lost the thread here. Are you trying to move an amendment?
I think I've lost my train of thought. I was thinking about an amendment, but maybe we just vote this down and not worry about it.
Sorry, Councillor Kabada, I was going to get Councillor Noon to sum up. You've already spoken to this.
I was going to ask a question on that, I'll just let Deputy Lord Mayor sum up.
Thank you. Deputy Lord Mayor.
I think some of the comments tonight are really disappointing because to me, I mean, perhaps I've been in business for so long that I absolutely could never live without a business contingency plan. This is not crisis management. This is actually, and this is risk management. Every organisation should actually have a risk management plan. And a lot of people now have got pandemics in their risk management plan. I'm sure a lot of people will have this in their risk management plan when they review it. It is absolutely normal to have a business contingency plan. So it is, and I think my point two actually says that notes that this request is for prudent forward planning only and not for immediate budget intervention with any measures to be scalable, evidence-based and capable of being activated, adjusted or withdrawn if conditions materially worsen and negatively affect the city, its businesses and its ratepayers. That pretty much sums that up. So this is not crisis management. That is ridiculous. This is what normal, well-functioning organisations and businesses do all the time, and they actually have it as a standing agenda item and they have it in their quarterly forecasts or whatever, and they bring it out and they look at it and they actually say, what do we have to ramp up or ramp down because of the conditions of economic conditions have changed. This is normal. What some of the stuff I'm hearing tonight is not normal, but there you go.
So I notice there are 10 members in the chamber. I actually will vote against a contingency business support fund if I get a chance, because I do think it's not appropriate for a business to, a government organisation to put a contingency fund in, because people will always want you to give it away once it's in the budget. All those in favour? All those against? That's lost. A division?
Members, of division has been called in relation to item 17.3. Please stand in favour of the motion until your name has been called. Councillor Martin, Councillor Freeman and Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Noon.
Kabada wishes to move his foreshadowed. Councillor Kabada, are you going to move your... Sorry? You moving? No, or not? Okay, we'll move on then. Thank you. Councillor Martin Aida. Councillor Martin, 17.4.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. I need a seconder in order to move this. Councillor Giles, thank you. Lord Mayor, look, there has been such negative commentary tonight about so many things. I'd like to propose something which is positive, and that is in the circumstances where people are talking about increasing rates, cuts to capital works, cuts to programs, free public transport because of dire public circumstances. I would like to attempt to lock in a increase for AIDA. AIDA has, and in my view, particularly performed well and deserves not only the encouragement of Council but the commitment to an increase in its budget. The proposal that is before the Chamber proposes that the budget and business plan for 26-27 is increased. That is, that the Chamber agrees that AIDA should receive an additional almost $750,000, $750,000 to take its budget to a total of almost $10 million, $9.8 million. Now, this represents an increase of around 7% on last year's 25-26 base budget. And moreover, Lord Mayor, I'll chance my arm and suggest to you that there isn't much in the budget that will increase by the level that is proposed here for AEDA. Now, Lord Mayor, this not only proposes a substantial increase in the 26-27 budget, but it locks in, it commits this council to successive increases over the coming 3 years as part of a strategy to increase the budget of AEDA to an additional $2.1 million over 3 years. Now, Lord Mayor, that represents 23% on the current 25-26 budget. That is to say, if members endorse this, in the next 3 years, the budget of AEDA will rise by more than 1/4, outstripping pretty much everything in the city of Adelaide, unless, of course, we consider that there may be some dreadful consequences flowing from the fuel crisis. Lord Mayor, it does represent a commitment. It is an opportunity for members to say, we back AEDA. Moreover, we back it to the extent of $750,000 this year and the equivalent each successive year to $2.1 million extra, almost a quarter more by the end of the 3-year period. My only commentary in relation to the manner in which AEDA proposes to spend it, and Lord Mayor, I don't have too many arguments about AEDA's expenditure, but my only concern is the allocation of $250,000 of that funding AEDA has already identified will be spent on celebrating the Rundle Mall birthday, rather. Lord Mayor, this expenditure, in my view, would advantage primarily Rundle Mall. And I note the commentary of the administration in paragraphs 4, 5 and 6. The obvious conclusion is that the benefit flows primarily to Rundle Mall traders. However, it is contended by AEDA that there is a more universal effect. However, my view is that that money would be better spent on other business initiatives, and some have, as we know, been advanced privately by AEDA, and in my view would be a better expenditure of the money rather than essentially the whole of the city, from every residential ratepayer to, the cobbler on Hutt Street to the pizza joint in the East End, paying for a Rundle Mall celebration. Lord Mayor, I'll leave it there. I did want to add some comments, but I'll save those for summing up.
Councillor Kabada and then Councillor Kouros.
I've just got some questions, Lord Mayor. Oh, did the seconder want to speak before I ask my questions? Is that how it goes?
You didn't ask me to speak.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask Councillor.
Do you want me to go before Councillor Giles?
I will reserve my right.
I've just got a question, Lord Mayor. With the AEDA workshop budget that we had about a month ago, was it not? It was my understanding, I thought the council administration, was going to come back to us with potential savings, reductions or deferrals that could be done. And I think we had to get back to them by the 21st of April. Is that right?
I think that date was one in my mind.
Through the presiding member, we did make it clear that we would provide advice in relation to any suggestions of elected members regarding pathways to savings. It is our current intent to bring the response back to your own suggestions on the 21st of April.
Thank you very much.
That was a yes.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. So my understanding is from that question is that we would be preempting this motion before us, if we go for it without actually seeing all the hard work that administration's been doing, for them to come back to us, for us to understand how else we can fund AIDA, is that right?
A debating matter. Can you reframe the question? Sorry.
So my question is, Lord Mayor, based on the motion before us, administration was meant to come back to us. Is this preempting, is this motion preempting that? Because if they're meant to come back to us, how can we have a motion before us when we don't understand how else we could potentially fund them? That's just, is it?
I think your characterisation is probably true.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Lord Mayor. I might just speak to it. So I support AIDA, and I thank Councillor Martin for the motion before us. I think economic development matters, I think activation matters, and I think backing AIDA properly is important for the future of our city. But I do think, as I mentioned before, we're jumping the gun a bit here. We have already had a dedicated workshop with the AIDA Chair, Deputy Chair, and AIDA management and administration still working through the broader budget process, including looking at potential savings, deferrals, and different priorities. To me, that means we should wait to hear back from administration before locking ourselves into a position tonight. My concern is not whether AIDA deserves more support, it does. My concern is that we should let the work that is already underway come back to us properly, like we do for every single other report and everything else that we do in this chamber, before we make a decision. I support AIDA, I support the intent of increasing its budget, but I think this motion is premature, and I think we should wait for administration to come back to us before we make that call.
Councillor Couros and then Councillor Freeman.
Lord Mayor, it's very clear in administration's comment that this relates to a budget increase over 3 years to be consistent with the administration's proposal to support the additional economic development activity. While Councillor Martin might call this good news, the good news was already in our budget and was already recommended by administration. This is not new, and I'm tired of living in Groundhog Day, and it keeps on happening. This has already been discussed. We've had workshops on it. We've had AIDA present to it. We had the General Manager of AIDA come to us and describe to us what the extra funding was required. What Councillor Kabata had a motion in seeking 2.25 million, I believe, in regards to funding them. That was disputed by this council pending a workshop, which we did have, which we collectively agreed that we will come back to the CFG on the 21st of April to discuss this further. I believe that other councillors or councillors who would like to fund AIDA more than the $742,000 that was recommended, to find the savings within the budget and to discuss that with administration whether that is possible. I believe that Councillor Kabata has put his proposal through to administration because he's very passionate about the economic activity that AIDA gives, as everybody is within this council. I haven't had the opportunity to do that. I am discussing that at the present moment with administration on queries that I have on the budget to allow to have that discussion on the 21st of April. This is premature, this is unfair, this is going over our heads, this is not what we discussed, this is not the path that we agreed to. We agreed that this is in the budget currently by administration presenting it to us. It is there. We have not finalised the business plan and budget. We're going to have further discussions on the 21st of April over it. I don't know why this motion's been brought through. I feel like it's an insult to the many workshops that we've had and the discussions we had on the process, and we're delivering the budget for AIDA.
Councillor Freeman, and then if there's no other opposing views, we might put it to the vote. Councillor Davis.
I just had a question about the Rundle Mall birthday celebration and acknowledging in the report, so AIDA's view was that the 50 years of Rundle Mall celebration is a whole of CBD celebration. Are the administration able to indulge us in what is this citywide celebration? Is it limited to the mall, or is there activations outside of the mall? I'm just curious, as a ratepayer in Sturt Street, let's see, will I see anything? And if that answer cannot be questioned by administration, could we possibly have an undertaking just to understand what is actually happening in this celebration?
Through the presiding member.
Yes, please.
Happy to provide that undertaking. My understanding is that the Rundle Mall 50-year celebration is primarily focused on activities in Rundle Mall, but I'd like the opportunity to seek better advice and provide that through an undertaking.
Okay, thank you, CEO.
Councillor Davis and then Deputy Lord Mayor.
My view is that we should fund the economic development strategy that the City of Adelaide adopted. We had AEDA come back and said this is how much it's going to cost, and that's the Adelaide economic development strategy that we adopted. I don't understand how we would not meet that. You know, in my view, that if we're not going to fully fund a strategy, then we need to amend the strategy if we don't have the funds to do so. It seems very strange to me that this is not the only occasion, but we develop strategies which we don't have the money to actually properly implement, and then we just try and pick and choose the best part of that strategy. That to me is not how strategies work. So my view is that in consultation with AIDA, we should be looking at them and saying, how much is this strategy going to cost? And we then say to them, hey, look, if we only have this much money, which will come through those budget negotiations or those budget discussions, and if we have a meeting next week in 7 days, I don't understand why this is happening here. My concern with this motion is that it will shut down the debate around what would be the appropriate funding for AIDA going forward. I do very much like the idea of locking that into the long-term financial plan, to setting that in. But I think we do need to have a discussion around how our strategy aligns with the funding, what AIDA can best think that it can deliver according to a budget that we can actually accept. You know, the other thing is, in terms of increasing funding here, that will then go into that rates discussion, the rate increase. It will go into all of the other discussions of the projects that we're intending to deliver. So there may well be capital projects that we should pull out. There should be other contingencies that we have around this budget and business plan discussion as it goes to a draft situation. I'm very confused why we would have this discussion now, why we would lock this in. I'm very confused why it's heralded as such an amazing plan when it doesn't fund what is our adopted economic development strategy. It doesn't meet what AIDA has asked for. It doesn't meet that requirement. I don't consider this to be good news, and I'm highly sceptical of it. I think we should follow the process, not butt in and lock in certain elements where you know, we may not have the benefit of what the administration report would be. So I think we should follow the bouncing ball in this regard, and I do believe, and I stand strongly by, fully funding strategies that we've adopted.
I think we might be overblowing what this motion actually does. Endorses the proposed 3-year strategy. I think we already have that. Add to the draft. It's already in there. The guts of this is to assist AIDA to have a better birthday party plan. So I actually agree with that part.
No, it's a worse.
So based on the CEO's comment before that predominantly the plan that we understand is at the moment, most of it will be happening in Rundle Mall. I certainly won't be seeing anything in Rundle Mall in the West End. It's not there. So I'd be quite happy to have a better birthday party plan for Rundle Mall. The preamble and part 1, based on the administration's comment, it's already in the draft. And as well, if we don't like it, we can just change the budget plan when we approve it later. So we're not jumping ahead of anything here. I think what we're actually getting to the guts of here is fixing an issue that was in the proposal, which I agree with that. So I'll be voting in favour of this.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
I just don't see this at all as just a Rundle Mall birthday party, for goodness sakes. I think the administration's comment in point 5, the AIDA view is that the 50th year Rundle Mall is positioned as a whole of CBD or even whole of state. It's celebration which benefits all ratepayers, not just mall traders. The marketing around this is, and I'm sure because we're dealing with quite an experienced, skill-based board here and a whole lot of staff that match that, at the end of the day, they would be using Rundle Mall's birthday, 50th birthday, as leverage. This is what you do in marketing. You take these opportunities and you actually go, what can we do to use this to actually get people into the city, to get people actually going everywhere in the city and North Adelaide, not just Rundle Mall. That's what clever marketing does. And I have no doubt that that's going to happen. In actual fact, I like to give them more money than what they're actually getting. And they're actually not only, and so to me, the 250K should not come out of the levy because that's what they do all the time. This is on top of all of that, and this is benefiting so much more than just Rundle Mall traders. So I actually think it'd be really interesting to Councillor Freeman's point is to see what sort of marketing that they will be doing to actually for the whole city to benefit and even the whole state, as Ada puts it. And I think it's so critical in this time, especially over the next 5-6 months when we have uncertainty on foot traffic and everything. We don't have the events that we have at the beginning of the year. This is a golden opportunity, guys, to actually try and get people and use Rundle Mall birthday as a leverage to do that. It is ridiculous that we're having this conversation, to tell you the truth. And that is why the state government is giving Rundle Mall $250,000 for this, because I'm sure it's not just because of their birthday party, it's for that actual whole of city, whole of state celebration, because Rundle Mall is something that actually represents some of the history that we have in this state. It's very important. So I won't be supporting this. And point one, I would say that that is still in the process of being negotiated, discussed. So the motion to me is not something that I would support.
Councillor Kabada, I'm not sure if you've spoken.
I've just got a question, Lord Mayor. I was a bit confused by Councillor Ma's comments, so I'm just seeking clarity.
Can I just ask if you have...
I have spoken. Yeah, it's a question.
You're asking a question. Sorry, please ask a question.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. So I was just a bit confused by Councillor Ma's comments. So if we support this motion before us, it means that the work that administration has done and the ADA workshop was all a waste of time because we haven't actually taken into consideration what administration's working on for us to help ADA potentially get more money?
But what I can say, just in passing, is that AIDA do long-term planning, and the funding that came from the state government via the Premier was actually to celebrate the first mall developed in Australia and a change in the pattern of retail, and it was to be spent. And one of the challenges is that the AIDA staff have been negotiating with other sponsors and booking events. So I think that the wording is assisting to develop an alternative option, might leave it open to say that if arrangements have been made, one would not want to embarrass them by unmaking them. So it's worded in quite a careful way.
But so from what you said, Lord Mayor, then you would agree on what I said, that if we do support this, we're jumping the gun because we're not listening. If we support this motion, we're jumping the gun because we're not listening, or we're not waiting for administration to come back to us? Is that what you're
well, I do note that it's not instructing AIDA, it's assisting them. So it's slightly less assertive. I'm sorry?
What is the difference between assisting someone across the road and then making them walk across the road? We're still sending, it's clear that this is a signal that...
I'm trying to help you, Councillor. I can't answer the questions any differently. I'm unable to help Councillor Kabada further.
I'm just very confused by the motion, Lord Mayor, just because I thought we were waiting for administration to come back to us, and now we've just put a motion here fund them,
So I
something
think that, have we extended, Councillor Snape, did you want to speak on this?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And as many of you know, when AIDA first was created, I actually did have my concerns about it. But having talked to a number of their staff and their board members over the years, I've actually come around to being quite a supporter, believe it or not. And so, like other councils here today, I'm fully supportive of providing them with clarity and financial allocation. I think it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing for our businesses. It's the right thing for our board. And I'm confused by a lot of this other rhetoric going around. And I just think it's disingenuous to what's actually in front of us, which is providing that financial certainty for AIDA, which they deserve.
I think we'd ask now if Councillor Martin would like to sum up.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm happy to sum up. Lord Mayor, can I ask that this matter be taken in parts? It's clear that there's a divergence of views. That's all right.
Are you happy in parts? Yes.
Happy to take it in parts. Look, Lord Mayor, let me address the second matter first. My intention is to suggest, and I did foreshadow earlier when I was speaking that I ran out of time, and I wish to make a further point. And the point is that there is a Rundle Mall levy that is used for the promotion of Rundle Mall, which AIDA has held at 2.3% for some time, below the rate of inflation, which could ideally be used to fund something of this nature. Now, I'm not suggesting, and nor do I believe the wording implies that the event itself should be abandoned. All I'm suggesting is that the money that is allocated to AIDA as part of that increase, and I made that clear at the beginning, that $750,000 should not be directed to that. It could more reasonably come from, say, the levy. Now, the difficulty I have with it is the difficulty that other ratepayers have had and expressed to me. That is to say, they feel a bit sore about money being allocated to things which doesn't benefit them. And frankly, I don't know any of my neighbours who will benefit, any of the residences where I live that will benefit from that expenditure. I don't know of any business in North Adelaide that will particularly benefit. I can't imagine that people will stop and get a burger on the way into the Rundle Mall birthday, much less a pair of shoes or a dress. It is a benefit precisely for Rundle Mall and something that is provided for within the charter of AIDA through a Rundle Mall levy. Not from a $750,000 substantial increase from the City of Adelaide, raising AIDA's budget by 7% on the way to raising it to an additional $2.1 million a year, an amount that is sufficient to cover the economic strategy that Council would like AIDA to fund. Now, the difference in the arguments that are here are, one lot is saying, yes, let's do that, and let's do it over the next 3 years as a firm commitment to AIDA now, and the other is, well, let's see if we can get them a bit more money now. Now, frankly, we have spent the better part of this evening debating what are between points of view here. We have spent time arguing what are seemingly points of view that say not much is happening in the world that we need to worry about, through to Armageddon is unfolding and we need to have a strategic response. What has happened is that the world has shifted economically in the last month, certainly in the time since we had AIDA workshops. And what I'm seeking to do is to lock in what has been proposed as a reasonable increase to AIDA, guaranteed. No one comes back and says, sorry, your 750's cut in half, things are crook. They can't. The strategy is that we agree to fund AIDA for an additional $750,000 a year, every year for 3 years, until their budget is increased by 23%. That is what's on the table. It is a firm proposition, a guarantee to AIDA, an opportunity for them to plan. Now, if you don't agree with the latter proposal about the Rundle Mall birthday celebrations, that's fine. I'm happy for you to have your point of view. But I do ask you, lock it in now.
All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's passed. And those against? Let's just check the numbers. Sorry, can we check the numbers? That was carried, part 2.
Division.
A division has been called. Is that a division for 2 parts?
How does 2 continue?
I'm sorry?
If one's lost, how does 2 have any votes to it? Because there is no increase of 742,000. So one's lost. 2 has no bearing.
They're not dependent.
Sorry?
They're not dependent. They are not dependent.
Are they not dependent?
They are not dependent.
They're not dependent, we think. So the division's been called?
Can we just to clarify?
Part 2.
We voted on part 1 and that failed.
This is a point of order?
Yes, we voted on part 2, that passed. We have not voted on the preamble to endorse the 3-year strategy. So at the moment it says we endorse the proposed 3-year strategy.
I think the preamble is just a preamble.
Well, now it says what we will have passed if we have taken out part 1, endorse the 3-year strategy and assist AIDA to fix the birthday party.
The preamble was based on part 1, which was lost.
Right.
So, but we have part 2, which is alive.
But it is a colon for a list, and we've only actually voted on list point 1. List point 2 stands. So I think
this is a problem with preambles. They only are confusing, and we were taking it in 2 parts.
Can we perhaps have a vote on the preamble as a part, just to be sure that we're getting this right before we move on to
I'm not sure that we can endorse the preamble if we voted against number 1, because it will be ultra vires.
Well, now I'm not sure that we've actually done this properly at all.
You've got to that council assist. What's wrong with that?
So can I ask if we need a division on part 2 anyway, because that division's been called. Can I ask if we take that?
Members, a division has been called in relation to part 2 of item 17.4. Please stand in favour of part 2 until your name has been called. Councillor Martin, Councillor Snape, Councillor Giles, Councillor Freeman, Councillor Marr and Councillor Siebentree. Thank you.
Was it carried or lost?
Carried.
It's carried.
So part 2 was carried. Thank you. Thank you for staying so long. I know you have an early morning. Councillor Martin, we have state priorities.
Lord Mayor, out of respect for my colleagues and considering the lateness of the hour, I will defer this matter.
So, thank you, Councillor Freeman.
Apologies to my colleagues for yet another motion about the fuel crisis, but we have saved the best till last. I'll seek a seconder, please.
Councillor Snape has seconded.
Thank you. So, yes, obviously there's a bit of a theme at the moment about the fuel crisis, and I do commend this chamber for thinking about all the possible ways that the City of Adelaide can support it. My motion focuses on the most affordable form of transport available to us. Cycling is free. It also focuses on what this council can actually deliver now in the fuel crisis in our LGA on our own. This city is full of council roads, which we provide cycling infrastructure on in accordance with our strategies. So there are 400,000 people that come to the city every day. There are also 350,000 people that live within 7 kilometres of the city. So you could correlate that there's a bit of crossover there, but I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of people that live a really comfortable 15-minute bike ride away from the city. And Adelaide is usually nice and dry, maybe not so much in the last few weeks, but generally dry, flat, grid structure, and it's a beautiful ride through the parklands as well. So considering the average commute time at the moment into the city is 30 minutes, I would say a 15-minute bike ride is actually really competitive and affordable. As I said, it's free. So what I'm also seeing in the media at the moment, all of those benefits acknowledged, is that many are starting to look at cycling as an alternative transport option. I circulated some fun facts last night. In the last month, over 50% of motorists Australia-wide are driving less. There also, Australia-wide, has been 136% increase in bicycle sales, and most of them are e-bikes and cargo bikes. So we can assume that that is families looking at different micromobility devices as that second car. So lots of people want to ride their bikes, but there are some barriers. I think I've said in this chamber before that there's 2/3 of Australians who would like to ride more, but they don't because they don't feel safe. And in Adelaide, that is very much the case. We have disappearing bike lanes. There is a real risk of theft or vandalism. People are scared to leave their bikes in the city, locked up to a bicycle hoop, especially if it's a $1,000 e-bike or a cargo bike. People also don't know where the infrastructure is already. There are really nice safe routes in low traffic streets in the city, but people just don't know they're there. And so there's this perception that riding is unsafe, and so people don't ever give it a try. So people want to ride, they just need somewhere to ride them safely, they need somewhere to park them safely, and they need government to encourage them to do that. So this pop-up cycling trial I'm proposing is to address some of those barriers. It is not just about bike lanes. There is certainly an opportunity to put in pop-up bike lanes, and that's what just a few more minutes, please. Thank you. Of course, the media has been very interested in the pop-up bike lane component and where they would go. I do think there's some opportunity for that in the parts of our network where we know there's a gap and we know we're going to address that gap. Peacock Road is an example of that. We've told our community that we're completing the micro bikeway into the city by upgrading that road. Why can't we accelerate that with temporary infrastructure now, knowing that permanently it will have that function? Sydney and Melbourne had great success with pop-up bike lanes during COVID, but I acknowledge that we are not Sydney and Melbourne. We are not in COVID. We don't know how pop-up bike lanes will work here, and that's why this motion says, can we immediately investigate the feasibility of them? Where would they go? What would they look like? How would we deliver them? How much? And when? That said, though, I do acknowledge in this crisis there's things we should be doing right now. And so that's the second part of this motion. In part 3, looking at available current budget savings that we might have to put in some other initiatives. They might be, so just a few ideas. Looking at those residential streets I mentioned, how can they be more rideable? Can traffic calming devices go in there to make them more friendly for bikes? Can we use planter boxes as modal filters, which Victoria did with great success, to actually have some really cheap, effective routes to ride? Bicycle parking. Secure bicycle parking is in short supply in this city. Only a few of our U-parks actually have lockers. Why can't all of them have them? Bike repair workshops. Can we have them in the parklands? Can we have consistent lighting at night through the parklands so people can ride at night? That would be great if you work shifts. Signage. If you don't know where you're going, it is very hard to get easy to get lost in this city. Can we look at a wayfinding signage improvement in the trial? I'm almost there. Our map, to be honest, is really hard to read. People don't know where they actually can ride safely.
Councillor, we might save this for the summing up.
No, I'm almost done. Marketing, events, comms. So look, I'm looking at low-hanging fruit that we can deliver now. Quick, cheap and painless.
Councillor, I think
unlike this meeting.
You're out of time. We're all exhausted. Seconded by Councillor Snape.
Very, very briefly, Lord Mayor, just to thank Councillor Freeman for her initiative on and leadership in this space. You are a keen cyclist. I must confess, I'm not. I'm one of those percentage that you referred to that who would be a keen cyclist if the infrastructure was there. So I'm invested in this in a different way, which is my bike is currently sitting in the garage covered in dust with 2 flat tyres. And if I was a bit more confident, if there was a bit more infrastructure in place, I would definitely use that more. So this motion certainly speaks for me at a personal level as well as an advocacy level as well. So thank you so much, Councillor Freeman.
Councillor Seaman, Councillor Davis. What? Councillor Cavallo, sorry, first. Councillor Cavallo first.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just a few questions. Can administration please confirm that the current data does not show a significant reduction in visitation to the city linked to fuel cost?
I think I need advice.
Through the presiding member, I think that's what the administration comment clearly states.
Thank you very much. And can administration confirm that the draft 26-27 budget allocation of $150,000 would not cover all elements requested in this motion, including wayfinding and secure bicycle parking?
Through the presiding member, I'd refer you to paragraph 5 of the administration comment.
Yep.
The 150 will support some of the initiative, but not wayfinding or secure bicycle parking.
Thank you very much, Sir. I'll speak to the motion before us now, Lord Mayor. I find it hard to support this motion because it's not too dissimilar to Councillor Noon's motion, where it's asking administration to do a lot of work. And in here, administration say it's going to take them circa 200 hours as well to prepare the workshop report requested in the motion. I'm not against cycling, and I am against improving transport in the city. My concern is that the trigger for this motion is weak and the ask goes further than what is currently planned and budgeted. Administration has told us that current data does not show a significant reduction in visitation linked to fuel cost. In fact, the available figure suggests the city is holding. So I do not think that the case has been made as to why this needs to be treated as an urgent response to current conditions. I'm also concerned that this is not a small piece of work. Administration has flagged significant staff time, external consultant input, and made it clear that the draft budget allocation does not cover all the elements being requested in this motion. So for me, this issue is not whether cycling infrastructure can ever be worthwhile. Of course it can. This issue is whether this motion is well-timed, properly justified, and realistic in its scope. I do not think it is. If you're going to ask administration to take on a work of this scale, there needs to be a much stronger case for it and a much clearer priority behind it. For those reasons, I will not be supporting this motion.
Councillor Seaman, Councillor Davis, then we might get summed up and voted on.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. A question then followed by a comment. The question for administration is, as part of investigating the feasibility of the trial, will that include consideration to what is appropriate around consultation with businesses and residents?
Through the presiding member, Mr McCready.
Through presiding member, that is indeed correct, because naturally there may be impacts to the public realm that we will need to discuss with parties along the adjacent road that's been probably suggested in regards to a temporary bike lane.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lord Mayor. If I may, then my comment is that I'm an avid cyclist, cycle through the southern part of the city a couple of times a week. I was very interested then in how Hutt Street played out, and just work with me here for a few moments, which is in Hutt Street what we saw was obviously proposal around significant cycling infrastructure, but I had a number of people who lobbied me who said they weren't in support of the cycling infrastructure there, but they wanted to see more cycle infrastructure elsewhere across the city. And what they said was, in order to do that, we need trials. What Councillor Freeman is proposing here, to me, is exactly what we need. And I'm less interested perhaps in parts 1 and 2 and more in the idea of a pop-up cycling trial, because it gives us the opportunity to explore how we expand our cycling infrastructure across the city. It gives us an opportunity to work out how do we engage with residents. It also gives us the opportunity through a trial to look at how we engage with businesses. And I'm reminded here in the motion that's before us that we are requesting administration to investigate the feasibility of a trial, and it's only under Part 4 that we look at how we're going to implement this. So from the lessons I learned from other work that we've done, particularly in looking at main streets, this is the exact sort of way, the exact type of way that we should be looking at expanding our cycling infrastructure across the city. And for that reason, I'll be supporting this, which is primarily about the feasibility of a pop-up cycling trail.
Can I just point out that the report back by the end of September will be after the caretaker period begins? Councillor Davis?
Yeah, I think I have some experience in these types of matters, and I'd like to tell a bit of an analogy with a skate park in Burnside. The intention was that there were residents who wanted to implement a skate park in Burnside, and there was a strong push for that. But of course, the council couldn't decide where it wanted to put the skate park. And so what the council decided to do was to initiate a pop-up skate park. And we bought like a small thing. And then what happened was that pop-up skate park then started to travel around the city. And what ended up happening was what we saw on Hutt Street and the rage of residents and business owners, I suggest to the Chamber, will now occur across every single street in the City of Adelaide, because this pop-up bike lane will be seen as a thin end of the wedge. And essentially, if there is a proposal, say, on Carrington Street, which I think would be potentially a good location for a main bike route, or whether it's on Hutt Street, or any name that the council or the administration then proposes as a possible location for a pop-up bike street, will then become very quickly aware, the residents, the businesses will become then very quickly aware that this proposal is essentially the thin end of the wedge, that a proposed pop-up is then a situation which would then lead the way for a permanent bike infrastructure route. So I like the idea. My preference, my ideal situation would be that any cyclist could get to anywhere in the city 85% of their journey on a separated or dedicated footpath. That's what bike lane. That's what I would like to see. But my concern with this is that this will generate an army of unhappy people who don't want it in front of their business or in front of their house, because every single location will be, let's say on Sturt Street, for example, where you're like, okay, let's put it here, and there's going to be 50 car parks here now removed on a temporary basis. This will create a widespread anxiety, I suggest. And you're quite right. I note that the landing of this report will be in the end of September. Many of us will be seeking re-election, I imagine. And I would suggest that this is not a great way to engage the community. And I think that a more comprehensive strategy or a workshop with the administration to develop a set of principles, a set of goals, and potentially considering routes would be a better way to do that. Otherwise, every street name will engender the same responses we saw in Hutt Street.
Would you be happy to sum up?
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. Firstly, to address a couple of points just made, in terms of current visitation, so the report says the city has held its current visitation in the last month using AEDA data. What else has happened in the last month? Gather round, Easter, Orthodox Easter, lots of things happening in the city. Do we have a breakdown of that data against what normally happens versus interstate travellers? I mean, that's another undertaking. I would love to see that data, quite frankly. We're going into winter. We've just had daylight savings. We are going to lose visitation. And I am really worried that working from home is going to make that as worse as it possibly can be. Call me dramatic, but I really think that's a risk. In terms of the timing, this says present a report to council by the end of September. Presumably, administration would know when caretaker is starting and bring it to us before that happens. That date was provided to me by the administration on the assumption that this council would review that report. So in good faith, I assume that's happening. In closing, I reject the loss of car park rhetoric. That is not in here. I didn't mention that. I did say it's not just about bike lanes. It's about filling some gaps, maybe. I'm focused on those quick, cheap, immediate things we can do to make cycling better for all of the people that possibly could ride in here. If it's simply a bunch of signs in the city or a bit of paint, that could have a huge impact. We're talking about free transport in a fuel crisis. This is crazy. We're the capital city. We should be doing everything we can to support people to keep coming in and save money. This does that. And look, it's not about driving versus bikes. It is not about one or the other. This is about driving and riding. So if people drive in 5 days a week and now they can't afford that, 1 day a week they ride in because we've got pop-up infrastructure on that day, I think that's a great win. The final point that I wanted to make is it's not just about the people riding, and it's not just about the people who are 7 kilometres from the city who could do that. We need to make choices for the state more broadly. There are plenty of people that don't have a choice. They have to drive. They live in the regions. They drive a truck. They are a carer, a shift worker, whatever. They don't have a choice. So we do need to encourage people that can make that choice to use less fuel if they can, so that those who can't do anything but drive can continue to do so. I think I'll leave it there. We're all tired, but really, I think this is the perfect time to look at this. It's the right time, it's the right thing to do. Can we be the right council to make it happen?
Thank you, councillor. All those in favour, all those in favour, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those against? I think that was unanimous, was it? No, okay. A division's been called.
Members, a division has been called in relation to item 17.6. Please stand in favour of the motion until your name has been called. Councillor Martin, Councillor Snape, Councillor Giles, Councillor Freeman, Councillor Marr, Councillor Davis, Councillor Sebentre and Deputy Lord Mayor. Thank you.
I'd really like to encourage you lot to get on your bikes and go home. I wonder if we could avoid any motions without notice and questions without notice. Can we slip gaily past motions without notice and avoid questions without notice? Oh, yes.
Thank you, Lord
It was a good try.
And it may require the administration to take it on notice. I have had complaints from residents regarding the increasing frequency, particularly at night, of graffiti occurring in the city and North Adelaide. And I'm asked whether indeed the Park Safe camera could have a role in detecting such antisocial behaviour.
Everybody's shaking their heads.
We'll take that one on notice, councillor.
Bunyip Trail had been badly damaged, and I've asked that that be cleaned. I think we should close the meeting. Thank you. Thank you for your patience and being tolerant while I move the agenda around.